Okay, my friends, we are not going to waste any time. We are going to dive in. There's two things that you're going to learn on this intro. The first one is going to be we interviewed 7 industry experts and they answered 3 commonly asked questions within the different transaction coordinator Facebook groups. So what are those 3 questions and who are the experts? Second, how to use this video. There's over 3.5 hours of content. You're going to learn that we have a directory, whether you're reading this or finding this video through the blog or whether you're finding it on YouTube. You can go right down to the video description and see that you can skip around in the video to any speaker that you want, any topic that you want. If you only care about question number 1, you'll be able to see the timestamp, so you can skip on question 1 from Michelle to Peter to Amanda to Nicole, Amity, and my reply as well. So we'll go through that in a second. But what are those 3 questions? Number 1, can or how would I build a TC business if I don't have any previous real estate experience? This is a question that we see literally almost daily within the different Facebook groups. And if we don't see it daily throughout the many transaction coordinator groups, we do see it quite a few times per week. So we wanted to give everybody an opportunity, or all these experts, an opportunity to answer that. Next one, and this is coming directly from real estate agents. So we see this in some of the transaction coordinator groups, we see this in some of the real estate groups, and then we also get direct messages for people that are reaching out to us with this question. So what is that question? As an active agent or realtor, can I or how would I build a TC business to help supplement my income while we are going through a shift in this market? So some of them, they may truly be looking just to supplement their income while their volume is low during this shift. But some of them, that's really not what they're looking for. They have realized after being an agent for whether it's a short period of time or a number of years that just is not, I'll just tell you, it's just not the right fit for them. But they love the industry and they're starting to learn more about becoming a TC, and they're wondering if that might be a better fit for them. So some of them, it is due to volume, and some of them, they're just looking for the right fit and role for them within an industry that they love. Next and last question. Can I or how would I build a TC business while working another full-time job or 9-to-5 job? Can this be done on nights and weekends, or at least until my new business can replace my current income? That's for people that are wondering about building a TC business, but they can't just go into that full-time with giving up their full-time income. So how do they manage both of those? Is it even possible? If it is possible, what recommendations might some of these experts have? So I told you we're going to cover 2 things. Now, how do you skip around in this? Whether you are finding the link to this video in a blog that we've got, or whether you're just going directly to YouTube, go down to either the contents of the blog or go into the actual description on YouTube. And I'm just going to use YouTube as the example here. If I'm on YouTube, what we've done is we've broken down each of the experts. And if you want to listen, say, to Micelle Spalding, she's amazing. If you want to listen to how she answers all 3 of these, you'll be able to see a timestamp that you can click, and it will take you directly to where Michelle comes in. And from there, you can listen to her whole talk. Each one of these people were interviewed for half an hour. So that's what you can expect, a half an hour from each. So you can skip directly to Michelle, listen to how she answers all 3. The second way that you can navigate through this video, when we go to Michelle, you'll see right below Michelle's name and that timestamp are 3 more timestamps. And that is, where does Michelle start answering question 1, 2, and 3? And then you'll be able to go to each one of the other speakers and each one of the other experts, and you'll see the same thing. You will see their direct link to where they start, and then you'll also see direct links where you can skip ahead to the questions specifically that they are answering. So if your main question is you want to know what everybody says about question number 1, you can literally, you don't have to listen to 3.5 hours of content. You can just skip to question 1 for each one of these people, or 2 or 3. So we hope that that helps. And from there, we're going to dive into our first expert, our first guest. In each one of these videos, I said, it's going to be close to a half an hour long. They'll give a little bio of who they are. And then from there, we're going to jump right into the first question. You guys have an awesome day. And if there's anything else that we can do for you, please feel free to reach out to anybody on this panel that you truly connect with. We'd be more than happy to help. Have a great day, guys. All right, good day, everyone. Welcome to the series. We are super excited to point out the fact over and over again that this is a series, okay? There are a lot of great opinions out there, but there's always going to be more than one right opinion, more than one right way to succeed, okay? We are talking not about transaction coordinators. We're talking about small business owners that happen to own transaction coordination businesses, and that is their service. But first and foremost, you are a small business owner, and we want to recognize that there's more than one way to think about this and more than one way to succeed. And this series will have a minimum, if it doesn't grow from there, a minimum already of a half a dozen industry leading professionals that are giving their opinion on 3 questions. So I had mentioned that I will quickly just read off those 3 questions real quick. And then we want to learn a little bit about Nicole, who is our industry expert and guest today. So the first question that we see very common, and this is Amity and I, how we put these together. Amity and I are both passionate around the idea of free go-to resources where people could go for multiple perspectives on the following 3 questions. So here they are. We hear this all the time. Can I build, or how realistic would it be for someone with no previous real estate experience? That's the key phrase there. With no previous real estate experience to build a TC business. We've seen some in the community that seem incredibly supportive of those that are considering doing this with no experience, while others seem to be much less encouraging. So what is Nicole's opinion on that? Next one is, we seem to be seeing a number of real estate agents that have considered starting their own TC company to help supplement their income while the market is going through a shift. And I say quote because I literally took that quote from an agent that posted it. So it's a very common question. And it's been hard to generate business and income as an agent. So they're thinking about starting a TC business. The third question, and that we're asking for Nicole's perspective on, can I, or how would I build a TC business while working a 9-to-5 type of job? What recommendations or thoughts might you have for someone that needs to keep their job, that's their current primary source of income, going until their new TC business is capable of replacing their current income? Can someone build this on nights and weekends? For me, these questions get a little long. Why are they long? Because we're not editing them much. We're literally copying and pasting these from what we're seeing in a lot of the TC groups. And this is how they ask them. So we are literally just taking them right from what we see on a day-to-day basis. So Nicole, I love that you're willing to give your perspective on this, but just for those that don't know you, you obviously own a transaction coordination business. How long? What do you want to share with us about your business?
Yeah, totally. So I'm the owner of Dotted and Crossed. I've been in business since January of 2018. So 5 years now. We closed our peak during, post-COVID craziness was 2,200 transactions a year. We're now about 1,500 transactions a year. We have 10 TCs on the team. We service primarily Tennessee. We have expanded to a few other states, but not super intentionally yet, but really going to be focusing on Georgia and Alabama in the new year. Yeah, I think that's probably covers it.
So, and the one thing I do want to mention about you, not expecting you to toot your own horn here, but if we want to go in depth into Nicole and her business, one thing that I really love about Nicole is leadership is a big deal to me. And I would consider Nicole one of the high end on the leadership. And the reason why I say that is a lot of teams, you're going to experience crazy turnover. You just are. You're in the real estate industry, and this is a heavy turnover business. If I remember correctly, you've got about 10 people you mentioned on your team, but almost all of those have been there the whole time. You don't have turnover, Nicole.
Correct.
You do not have turnover.
In 5 years, I have had one person quit, and she actually came back a few years later.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay. So as you're growing as a small business owner, some of you are solo, but as you grow a team, to have that in your business, that's special. So it's not by accident that I asked Nicole for her opinion on some of these questions. Every person that we ask, there's a special reason why we're asking them. So anyways, I just wanted to point that out. So Amity, what do we got here? Take it away from me.
Yeah. And I have to jump in and say that that is not only a testament to your leadership, Nicole, it is also really, really talks about how important it is to hire the right people for your business and understand who you're bringing on. And I have to say kudos to you, because I know that is so hard to do. So good job.
No, definitely. I'm thankful every day for our team. I mean, I don't know how we got so lucky to have the team that we do. It's really amazing.
And we're going to do this in a half an hour, but I'm almost ready just to say, forget these 3 questions. Let's do an hour just on that. But anyway, go ahead, Amity.
All right. So let's go ahead and start with question number 1. And we see this one a ton of times. Is, can I build, or how realistic would it be for someone with no previous real estate experience to build a TC business? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've seen it myself in the groups. So definitely needed to have a resource and a lot of different opinions on this. I guess my first thought would be, is it possible? Yes, it's possible. But it's definitely not simple, nor is it going to be easy. I have a couple of questions for a person in the situation that would be considering this. And the first is, why real estate? If you have 0 real estate experience, why would you want to get into being a transaction coordinator? Like, where is that desire coming from? If your answer is, well, it's, simple, it's easy money, then I'm here to tell you that you're completely mistaken. There is no such thing as an overnight success, right? It takes years and years of hard work to build a successful business of any kind. So if you're in it because it looks like on the surface like easy money, that is definitely not a good reason to get into this. If you really want to be a home-based business owner, and you don't have any experience in this, again, my question is, why real estate? Because I can think of a number of home-based businesses that you can start that have, with very little risk, that require no experience, right? You can tutor or teach English in foreign countries online now. You can start a dog walking business. Anybody can get on Canva and create printable downloads and digital marketing materials on Etsy. If you play a lot of video games, you can live stream that on Twitch and make an income, right? So again, why real estate? Where is that coming from? And maybe your answer is, when I bought a house, my agent had a TC, and I completely fell in love with that process, right? Like, I just was like, wow, this is so cool. This is exactly the kind of thing I'm good at. I love the details. I love this paperwork. And you really geeked out over that and realize that you have a passion for it. And that exists. I've definitely talked to people who've been in that boat, right? So if this describes you, my thought would be, I would not jump right into starting your own business and trying to do this on your own. If it is something that you are really passionate about and really want to get into, I would look for somebody who is willing to ideally hire and train you. Get 1 to 2 years of experience under your belt at a minimum, really learn the ropes, really learn everything that you possibly can about real estate, because the reality is, if you're trying to jump into this without any experience and without somebody guiding you, how are you going to provide real value when an agent is trusting you with their clients, their contracts, their literal livelihood, right? If you don't know what you're doing, there's a tremendous amount of liability there. And, maybe that value, a lot of people, I think, tend to jump to cost of like, oh, well, I'll just be lower price than all of my competitors and tell my agents that I don't have any experience. You can do that, sure, but what you're really doing is setting yourself up for quick burnout and an unsustainable business model. So is it really worth it at that point? So that would be my advice. If it's something that you're really set on doing, find an agent or an office that's looking for an admin without any experience, and just get your feet wet and learn the business. Once you have a couple of years, then you can start planning and executing, your own independent business if it's something that you still want to do.
So something I'm seeing that you're really doing from my perspective as I listen is you're really breaking out the difference between being a TC and being a small business owner. You're not saying don't become a TC,
Correct.
but there
Correct.
is a
Yeah, those are
difference
two
between
very, very different
becoming a
things.
TC and becoming a small business owner. Now, if one of the desires is to become a small business owner, I love the distinction that you're making. Ask yourself, that's great if you want to be a small business owner. But why, as a small business owner, is it specifically real estate related?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, but can you answer that question?
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
find that really a fantastic perspective. Amity, anything that you're catching out of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that is also such an important distinction between the business owner and even just an admin, because
Yeah.
we see admins who have this sort of little bit of real estate experience, and they see what the transaction coordinator on the team does, and some of them think that it's a seamless transition, and really the skill set between an admin and a TC are totally different. And there's some alignment, of course, but there really is quite a few differences. And I would say that it's not easy to see someone transition from an admin role to a TC role without those skills. So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think too, you find that a lot of people personality wise are kind of suited for one or the other, right? Those that are really well suited in the admin position, kind of that operations role, tend to be different from those who love being in that TC seat and really owning that and taking that to a high level. Again, like you said, there's always going to be some overlap, but from what I've seen in general, they are two different personality types overall.
I love it. I love it.
Yep.
I'm having a hard time not diving deeper into this and asking about 15 more questions, but I know we want to keep this at a half an hour. This is really tough for me, tougher than I thought it would actually be. So I'm gonna try to leave it at that. Amity, why don't you go on to the second question?
All right. All right. So I think everybody knows that we're seeing a big shift in the market and the real estate market. There's a lot of things that are happening in our industry. Daily, we're seeing posts from real estate agents that are thinking of ways to change their business, how they can still stay in the real estate industry, or if they need to exit it completely. I would love to hear your thoughts, Nicole, on the agent that is thinking about starting their own TC company as a way to supplement their income during the shift, and generate business and income. So tell me what you think about people who are exploring that idea.
Yeah, totally. And this is something that I as well. So again, very, very needed. This is a very multifaceted answer. I think there's a lot of it depends in my response. First know that my perspective is from someone who I have 10 years of experience in real estate, but I have never held a real estate license. So to keep that in mind, right? In my anecdotal experience, great agents rarely make great TCs. I'm not going to say never, because I actually have somebody on my team who is she is a managing broker. She's an amazing TC and she is still in sales. However, she uses selling real estate to supplement her TC income, not the other way around. She hates the selling side of it. That's why she doesn't want to start her own TC business. She really enjoys the paperwork side, but likes the income bump of selling a house to friends or family every couple months, right? So I guess again, it boils down to, as an agent, my first question again is why? Why is your real estate business suffering, and why are you considering starting a TC business? If your real estate business is suffering because you're doing a poor job of getting yourself out there and letting people know what your skills and your area of expertise are and finding clients, why do you think that starting a TC business would be any easier? Because it's a lot of overlapping skill, in my opinion, there, right? If you need to get yourself out there and build your business, that's exactly what you're going to have to do if you start a TC company. I do think that there are agents who have realized that they don't enjoy being an agent. They don't like that liability on their side. They love the real estate process, but they really don't like sometimes the drama that we've seen over the past couple of years, or the massive liability that we've seen. And they want to stay in the business. They want to feel relevant, but they don't want to be in sales. And they really enjoy the details of real estate. These are the agents that are typically they've never been super high volume in their career. Maybe they always have closed no more than 1 or 2 houses a month. I think they have the highest potential of enjoying and creating a successful TC business. But a lot of agents that were successful, especially in the boom that we saw over the last couple of years, I think that they're wanting to branch out into TC because they've realized that something in their business is not working, not because they don't want to be a real estate agent anymore, if that makes sense. And I think that's where it's like, you really need to dig down into why are you considering this? Is this really the best place for you to be putting your energy? Or maybe you should be focusing your energy on, your referral network, or, something else, another source of business for your sales income, as opposed to branching out into something that arguably you may or may not be any good at.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
just said something that almost takes me back to the first thing you said on the last one, which I love, because there's
I'm always going to
consistency
ask
there.
why.
There's consistency there.
Yeah.
Okay. Multiple consistency. You started with why again.
Yeah.
And then you really distinguished, and I'm going to say you really separated what you were talking about. You're not talking about TCs now. You're talking about being a small business owner. So whether you're going to be a small business owner as a TC or a small business owner as an agent, there is something that is so similar to both, in the sense that you both have to do business development, otherwise known as a phrase that we hate, lead generation.
Yes.
Okay. You need customers. And if the reason why you are getting out of real estate is because your volume is low, because maybe you have a problem with lead generation, but you think this will solve that, that
Right.
might not actually be the case. But you're still talking about the fact that these are small business owners. Now, if you're coming into this business and you said, go back to the why, maybe one of the whys is you are more suited to be a TC. That still doesn't say that starting a small business, you could still become a TC and not be becoming a small business owner.
Absolutely.
A lot of this very much lines up with how you kind of answered the first question, because a lot of those things still exist in this to help answer this question for agents, unless I'm hearing you wrong, but that's kind of what I was
No,
thinking.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you just articulated it pretty clearly. Like there's you have to get into the reason why you're even considering these, and so many people have so many different answers to that question. But at the end of the day, there is such a big difference between being a TC and being a small business owner with a TC business. And so you absolutely have to differentiate between that in your why. It always comes back to why.
Amity, what did you hear in there?
Yeah, I love the why. I love the why question, because I do think that that's incredibly important. And I think that, and the understanding your personality type and understanding the skill set that your personality type probably brings with it compared to a TC's skill set and personality type, those may not overlap. I'm one of those licensed agents. I was a licensed agent in Colorado. I operated for a year. I was really, really bad at it, but I was really bad at it. But I realized I loved the contracts, and I loved the people, and I loved the networking. I've talked about this and other things that I've done, is that I've never had a problem with networking and creating relationships with other agents and vendor partners. My issue was always with customers, like the cold people, the clients, the people who wanted to buy. So I had never, it was a natural transition for me to go into working with my skill set, and then also being able to still network and use my relationships to get clients. And that's one thing that I think that many agents are missing, is understanding that if they're not a great real estate agent, you might not be a really great TC, even if you love paperwork.
Yeah, Absolutely.
Nicole, I'm
Absolutely.
going to push you a little bit deeper.
Okay.
Okay? And if it's okay for you to say, you know what, I may have an opinion on that, but I'd rather not answer here until I have time to think on that. Let's
Okay.
go on to number 3. I'm totally fine with that too.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm going to push that question a little bit farther because number one, not only do we see this question a lot in the groups, the TC Facebook groups and stuff, which are amazing. They're amazing, amazing, amazing resource. And I would tell every independent TC to get in those groups. But I will say this, being a real estate coach and a TC coach, I get it outside of the group where I get it. And I'm going to give one different way I hear this question. And I think they don't want to ask this question in public in a group. So I'm going to just say how I get it personally. Hey, David, I'm struggling a bit in my real estate business. And what I'm thinking about doing, they think this is the answer and the solution. They just want to know how to do it. Is what I'd like to do is I'd like to do some TC work to supplement my income until the market comes back.
Yeah.
Okay. So they're assuming I'm not planning on not being an agent. I'm not planning on leaving that, starting a TC business. And that is my new primary focus. But it would really help me to supplement my income until my real estate business is back to where I want to be. Now, I can see why they may not want to post that publicly.
Yeah.
But I get that a lot.
Yeah.
What's your feeling on that?
Absolutely. So I definitely have some thoughts on that. Number one, you're wanting to TC in the same market that you are currently trying to sell in. Not everybody, but I can tell you there are absolutely some agents who would say, absolutely not, you're my competition. Why would I have you be a TC? So that would be my first thought, is if that's something that you wanted to do to supplement your income. If I were in that position, I would be like, I need to TC in a different market than what I'm currently selling in, right? Like,
just to bring clarity to that, is if you are a TC and you own a TC business, you have to find clients. Those clients are agents. Now, you are not being a TC for yourself. You're being a TC for agents that are out there producing volume. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's going to be my first thought, is you will absolutely hear that objection and probably hear it a lot. And of course you would have to have something in your service agreement, some sort of, non-solicit or something, but that's not enough for some agents. They don't like the idea that you're actively selling in the same market as them and potentially doing a better job with their clients than they are, right? I mean, I know for a fact in our business that we have had buyers and sellers reach out to us post-closing with questions about the house. They're not reaching out to their agent, they're reaching out to us, right? Well, we don't actively sell. Obviously it's not an issue. Of course, we do the ethical thing. We bring the agent in immediately and let them know. But how does the agent feel? How does that buyer or seller's agent, of course, they should be better at their job and be better with their clients, but that's beside the point. How does that agent feel if their TC, who is also actively selling, is the one that's getting the call from their buyer or seller post-closing? So it's just something that you definitely have to keep in mind. That's an objection that will absolutely come up. But also, you're wanting to supplement your income with TC work. Have you looked at how much a TC makes versus how much an agent makes on one sale? As an agent, what systems do you have? How many files do you think you can actually carry as an agent while also trying to be an active real estate agent? If you say you can only carry like 5, maybe 10 files, a month, that's not really gonna replace your real estate or even necessarily supplement it all that much. Is that really worth the effort for you? Or should you just be, again, focusing on sales in your real estate business?
And the effort, you just mentioned effort. The effort is not only working files, it's running a small business, which has a lot of things. I'm going back to this is a small business. So part of that small business is lead gen. Part of that is setting it up as a legal business. Some of it is there's so much more than just running a file.
Systems, checklists, all of that, right? And if you're just trying to get into that and just jump in and do it, well, you're setting yourself up to kind of crash and burn, in my opinion. So it's very difficult. There's a lot to consider, and I don't think it's a good option for most agents that are just wanting to supplement their income.
And I'll wait till our video, Amity, before I give my opinion of how I answer that to the agents, but I love that. So I really wanted to get your perspective on that too. I'm having a hard time, not like, let's all have this conversation. So I really appreciate you, Nicole.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Amity, what is that next question?
All right. So this one I think is really interesting. I see this a lot, and it's for those potential TCs that are curious if they could build a TC business while working a 9-to-5 job. So tell us about like what recommendations you would have if someone could do that, if that's even possible, or what your thoughts are. Can you do it on the nights and the weekends?
Totally. Great question. So we, in this industry as TCs, we know that real estate happens Monday through Friday, 9-to-5. Like that, what we do on real estate transaction happens during normal business hours, period. An agent's job is obviously, some agents have zero boundaries and they're working 24/7. Some also retain business hours, but oftentimes they are working weekends if they have a deadline or something that has to be handled, offers to write, etc. Right? We all know that. My initial thought is, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to start out and gain clients, gain their trust, especially depending on your level of experience, if you have another full-time job that does not give you time during the day to focus on this. So if you're in that position and this is something that you really have decided that you would want to do, what I would do is I would spend as my time and my energy focusing on setting aside an emergency fund. I would want 6 months to a year at my current job of all of my living expenses, in addition to any business expenses that I might be planning for my business. Now, the nice thing about the TC business is it can be very, very, very low cost, right? I mean, you can start with, depending on your state, LLC paperwork and a website is $12 a month kind of thing, right? So it's not like you have to massively invest a ton of money just to get started. So set aside 6 to 12 months, depending on your risk tolerance of your personal living expenses at your current job. While you are doing that, use those nights and weekends to create your business plan and start executing it. So that's when you're going to be creating your logo, your branding, setting up your systems, your checklists, creating your list of agents, figuring out your lead generation strategy. There's a lot of that business owner side of it and setting up and planning that really needs to happen ideally before you launch your business. And what a perfect opportunity to do that. You can do that on your own time at any point while you are saving money. Then when you hit your savings goal, ideally, you're ready to hit the ground running. You know exactly what you're going to do. Everything about your business is planned and ready to go, and you can kind of just start. This is kind of what I did. Not exactly. I only had about 3 months between the time in which I realized I had to quit my job and I had to figure something else out. So I spent 3 months saving as much money as I possibly could, writing my business plan, creating my website, putting everything together. And then literally as soon as I turned in my notice, I started letting agents know in my network that I was going independent and what day I would be available. And the very first day of launch, I had new contracts in my inbox.
Wow.
So it absolutely can be done, right?
Wow.
But you do, I would not recommend trying to do it simultaneously as another position. I would use that time to be planning and strategizing how you're going to set yourself up for success.
I love that. Amity, what did you hear? Or where do you want to dive deeper?
Yeah, I mean, I love that strategy because I think we forget that. We forget all of the things as small business owners that need to be done, and how realistically that's where the hustle is, right? That's where you are putting in the 12-hour days. It's not necessarily on the TC stuff. If you've got that automated right, you can really reduce your time. The big bulk of it, I think, is in setting up your business. And if you can get that off your plate before you're ready to launch, that's going to set you up. That's really going to set you up for success.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to point out something you said without saying it, but correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. You had said it's how you started. Okay. Is can you build this business while you still have a 9 to 5? You said it's possible. I'm not going to say it's not.
Right.
But then you went into this phrase, and this phrase I'm still hearing from the very beginning. It's just driving me nuts. And that is I don't know how your agents will feel about that. Okay. Now, here's what you didn't say. And that's this. You're being honest with your agents. You're being honest with your agent.
Oh, yeah.
You're
Absolutely.
not pretending I'm available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and faking it and saying, you know what? You can expect that I'll be able to get back to you within 1 to 2 hours because I'm busy on other files or whatever while you're working at your 9 to 5 and everything, and you're sneaking out during 9 to 5 and just taking care of things in between and trying to get the bulk of the work done on nights and weekends, but putting a fake facade up that you're actually working your business full time.
Absolutely.
You're not pretending that you are something that you're not. Okay.
And I know there are people that have done that you can't pretend, but I can tell you, your agents know. They've figured it out. Like it's, and maybe they're fine with it. I don't find it sustainable to do that long term unless you know something that I don't, which is entirely possible. There's a lot of stuff I don't know. So but yeah, I would assume that your agents know and they're okay with it. Yeah.
So you're either being very upfront and real about your situation. And if your real situation is that you just insist, I'm not going to have the reserves that Nicole talked about. I am going to start this now while I am doing it. Are you okay with also doing what it takes to earn the clients? That would be okay with your honesty to say, I am just getting started and I'm going to be more available on nights and weekends for a while until I make this transition. Now, I'm not even saying that that's a good plan.
Yeah.
But at a bare minimum, it's honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And
any level of dishonesty is just not something that any of us could support.
Right. You actually mentioned a really good point too of, if you again, you're trying to gain clients, you're trying to do lead generation, that's going to be really hard to do not during business hours. I don't know that I would want to set up my business where I'm having, consultations and onboarding calls with agents Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, that just to me sounds like even when I get to the point that I'm ready to quit my job, that's going to be hard to come back from too, to be like, okay, I know I was doing all this stuff for you at all hours of the night, but now I'm only available 9 to 5. I'm not saying again that it can't be done. You can reset boundaries with your agents, but it can be very difficult to have those conversations, and you should be prepared for some pushback for sure.
Yep.
Amity, anything else kind of on our way out here?
And I think the last thing, and we'll talk about this when we do our own recap, but I think it is important to know that in your TC business that there are several different ways that you can make its model, and depending on the level of service that you provide and how you focus it, there could be an opportunity for you to do this kind of thing operating 9 to 5 or operating outside of normal business hours. But again, you have to be honest, you have to be clear about what it is, and then you have to be able to prove your ability, if you become available during business hours, how you're going to expand your business and add additional value to those agents, because now you may have the ability to provide full service that you maybe can't do working outside of normal business hours.
Something you're talking about that both of you said, so I just want to pull that out and we'll end with that, is both of you have talked about having real clarity around a business plan or business model. What is your business plan and business model? And if that is going to be more traditional TC, I personally know a lot of very successful TCs, just as the other people on this call do. And I'm trying to think of one, and I can't even think of one exception where their business model is freakishly successful. And it's really based on a model that has nothing to do with anything during 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I don't know one. I don't know a single one. Now, if you can, I can't wait to interview you and see what you're doing and how that works. But just know this is that we're never saying that something can't be done, but you do want to have a business model and a business plan. And there are some amazing examples out there. There's some absolutely amazing examples and role models out there that have really made this work and done it at a very high level. That's why we're interviewing those specific people. So anyways, Nicole, anything else you want to say on the way out?
I think that's all I've got.
Okay.
I hope it's helpful.
Okay.
Incredibly helpful.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Unbelievably helpful, and way harder to do this in a half an hour than I gave myself credit for. But because I really want to go deeper on a lot of these things, but I truly am grateful for all of us being able to get together. If you didn't hear the beginning of the recording and you're jumping in late, this is a series. We are going to do a minimum of a half a dozen or more of these interviews with industry leaders, asking the same 3 common questions that we're hearing on a fairly regular basis, and just getting their perspective without a lot of our commentary, just the professional's perspective on exactly how they feel about some of these common questions within our industry. Tons of love to all of you. Nicole, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
So David and I are both really passionate about the idea of having a free go-to resource where people could hear multiple perspectives. And so we thought that we would put together this video series that answers some specific questions that we're seeing come up in the Facebook forums very, very frequently. And I'm sure that these are going to sound very familiar. First is, can I build, or how realistic would it be for someone with no previous real estate experience to build a TC business? We also are seeing questions about agents, real estate agents that want to supplement their income while their market is going through a shift, and if that is possible. And then last, the third question is, how can I build a TC business, or is it even possible for me to build a TC business while I'm working my 9-to-5 job? So we are on our journey of sharing this information. We are interviewing there will be a total of 6 videos and interviews in this series. And today we are talking with my wonderful good friend, mentor, and one of the most beautiful people that I know, very well known in our community. And also, she not only has 1 book, but 2 books. It is the wonderful Micelle Spalding. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm so glad you're here. Tell us a little bit more about your business and what you've got going on these days.
Oh, thank you so much. And I held up my hand, Amity. It's 3 books.
Is it 3? Oh, that's right. You have the children's book. I forgot.
Yeah, the illustrated book. Yeah, that came out actually a year ago this month. So coming up on its year anniversary. Thank you. And thank you for the kind words. What am I up to these days? You know, I have been in the real estate space now for longer than some people in this space have been alive, 27 years, I think, give or take a few days. And, you know, started off in one section, went into the TC space, opened a business, closed that down and passed it along to my team in 2020. And in the last 3 years, I think what I've really been trying to do is mentor and coach people in that space to create businesses that are in alignment with who they want to be and how they want to show up in the world, not how other people think that it has to be done. I'm not an authority on how it should be done. Each and every one of us are our own unique authority. And so what I have been doing is helping people in that space and helping people in the general business space as well to do that very same thing. With a little healing as well of like our nervous system and our hustle mentality, but that's another conversation for another time.
Yeah, I'm ready to go about an hour's deep on just that topic.
Careful what you ask for.
I will hold up. I will hold off on that. So, but for those that know about this series, and we are interviewing industry experts, is although Micelle does amazing coaching and everything else like that, the fact is where a lot of us have gotten to know you is just through your Facebook group. And at this point, I mean, it is thousands and thousands of members. And so we're hoping that this would be a resource for the community, but I do bring that up, just the word community.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who work at home I just want to encourage you, get into community. Get into community. Do not isolate. And so I want to just a shout out to you, Micelle, because I do believe a lot of small business owners, they do isolate. And I don't, that is something that I can encourage from a mental health perspective. Get into community. And I think you have been just such a beautiful role model for that for a number of years for many people in this community. So I wanted to bring that up and just a shout out to you.
Oh, thank you.
Just for the community that you have created. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. And early on in this industry, in this business, there was nobody. You know, I go back so long, my daughter says back to the days of black and white. All that to be said, there wasn't the online places that we have today that make it so not so easy to find information, but that and to find people who are like walking the same path as you are. So thank you. Yeah.
Amity, anything else that you want to go into before we just dive into the questions?
No, let's get into the questions. David, you go ahead and take it with the first one.
All right, now I'm going to read the questions as we have them, Micelle. And in my opinion, the questions are written a little long, but we didn't want to edit them. This is literally sometimes exactly the way that we see these. So a lot of these questions are fairly cut, copy, and paste from exact examples that we've seen within the community. So I'll read them just kind of as we have them, and we'd just love to get your insight or feelings around those topics. Now, the first question is this: can I build, or how realistic would it be for someone with no previous real estate experience? That's the key phrase we hear over and over again, to build a TC business. We've seen some in the community that seem incredibly supportive for those that are considering on doing this, while others seem to be much less encouraging for those that are thinking about doing this with no real estate experience. So we're curious, what would your opinion be on that? What would your feelings, insight, what would you share with us around that topic?
Well, the first thing I would say is none of us had experience before we started doing anything that we started doing, right? Like, I went from a medical profession into real estate. There was not much similarity between the two, except sometimes grumpy people. Otherwise, we all have to start somewhere. And I think there's sort of I'm probably not going to be liked for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyways. There's just sort of an arrogance that comes in this industry, not specific to TC, but the real estate industry, that I've arrived, or I've, put in my dues or what have you. Therefore, I'm an authority. And I disagree. I think that there are lots of ways for people to start something new. Now, are they going to be able to coordinate, 30, 40, 50 deals at a time? Are they going to have, a boatload of agents? No, it's all, we all have to start somewhere. But I think that for people to instantly say, you can't do this because you have no experience, is unfair, because we all had to start somewhere. So if you want to do it and you have no experience, you go get some. It could mean working for someone else for a while first. Could mean reading every book, watching every YouTube video out there, doing all the homework that it takes. If you want it, you can do it. That's what I would say. And don't listen to the naysayers.
Okay.
That's the other thing I would say.
Yeah.
I love that, because there is you're right. Everybody did start somewhere with no experience. And I think that I don't want to go too much into my opinion on this here, but just writing somebody off for seeking knowledge as they're trying to gain experience seems incredibly unfair to me.
Yeah. I think the other thing I would add to that, Amity, is there's a lot of other industries that could parallel into this. For instance, I worked in law.
Mm-hmm.
But the law that we did was closings, but it wasn't TC work.
Yeah.
I figured that out after I got in. So I didn't have specific experience as a TC. I did have some experience as real estate, but prior to that, I didn't. Somebody took a chance on me. 10 years later, I started a business.
And I will congratulate. I just love what you said is we all start with no experience, but you also said go get some. And now you also mentioned that there are industries that may parallel. So you mentioned where you had came from. I'm almost hearing my own story in your story because I started with I'll call it a parallel industry, which was the mortgage industry.
Mm-hmm.
And did 3.5 years of closing with mortgages and working with the agents and everything. And I can't tell you how grateful I am for that experience that I had. Now, did it make me an expert when I walked into this field? No, but I'm still crazy grateful for that parallel experience as well. So yeah, absolutely. When you say go get some experience, do the homework.
Yeah.
If someone says, I'm willing to do the homework, can I ask you just to explain a little bit maybe where they could do some homework? What would that homework look like? Any examples from you?
There's people who, like myself and both of y'all, who have courses. There are books. There are, I mean, most of the larger franchises even offer classes.
Yeah.
There's more YouTube videos than there are people in the world. So even just specific to like real estate.
Yep.
Just go out and do it. It takes time. I mean, when I started, I spent a lot of time at the library. I checked out every book on real estate I could. I went to the local association and took classes. I took classes at brokerages. Anything that I could to get information, you know, and not just specific to this industry. Right? If you're going to have a business, you're going to have to sell. So go get some sales training. You're going to have to figure out, you know, website stuff likely, or delegating it to somebody. So like go get training in everything that you think you might need and then some. There's tons of resources.
So
there was nothing back in the 2005. We barely had the internet functioning.
And because I'm a big fan of you, I can't help but watch how you show up in the community. So I'm going to give my example of what I see from an outside perspective of you with what you just said as well. When I had said, where would you get homework? And you started just listing things out, go get books, go get courses, you got courses, there's classes, so on and so forth, is we have a lot of people that show up in the groups and they ask a question. And the way you show up with such grace as well, not with a making them feel bad, but a grace in saying, you know what, that's a great question, such a valid question. Here's a beautiful thing is we actually have a search bar up there, and that question has been asked quite a few times, and there's so many resources that are already available that in that question. And so I'm going to pull out one word, and I'm just curious on your feedback on that, is be resourceful. Truly resourceful. And that is going to those groups and doing the searches, because everything that you want to know, we're all the same. We've wanted to know those things. And so many beautiful people have answered those questions, but there's also books that have been written, there's courses and everything. But just being resourceful is truly a blessing to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be scrappy to be a real estate entrepreneur, to be an entrepreneur. I mean, in any industry. I think that's, you know, good and bad, but you got to be, you got to be resourceful. Like that's like probably a really a top tier talent that You
I
have
love
to
that you
have
just took the word resourceful and said scrappy. That's really what I meant. I'm trying to be polite, but hardcore.
I mean, is that not almost one and of the same? Like you got to be like,
100%.
you got to take all those pieces, right?
Yes.
And figure it out.
Yeah.
Questions too. I don't think that needs it could or it might not need to be a coach. It could be somebody, a colleague like in the industry. Like when years and years ago, there was a gentleman that used to put on events, and he taught people how to hire virtual assistants. Michael Russer, bless his heart, has passed away, but he was really instrumental in early on in me getting started, because I got to meet people in other parts of the country who did this. So I could email and ask questions, and they could email and ask me, and we would refer business back and forth to each other. So it wasn't even like a coach relationship. It was a, hey, how do you do this? Or have you seen this? Or am I crazy? And those are good relationships to have. People in your pocket that can support you, and
Good.
you can support to them, offer support
100%.
to them.
If you're okay, I'm going to move on to the second question.
Yeah, please. Sorry.
But I wrote down, I can't help it. I went from resourceful, arrow, scrappy. Be scrappy, be resourceful.
It's
now let's go to the
it's
second
where
question.
I came from, I guess.
I just love it. I love it. All right. Second question. We seem to be seeing a number of real estate agents that have considered starting their own TC company to help supplement their income while the market is going through a shift. And it's been hard to generate business and income as an agent. Now, I'm going to be real blunt about this particular question. I see a lot of this in the group. But part of this question has quotation marks around it, because I actually took that quote from agents that email me directly that are almost embarrassed to show up asking that question in public. And so they ask it personal. And the quotation part was about starting their own TC company to help supplement their income while the market is going through a shift. They all use the word shift, and it's been hard to generate business and income as an agent. What would you want to say about that? What could you share? What insight, what feelings do you have around that topic?
That's a loaded one, and another one that we could probably spend years on. What I would say is, I don't think this is a place that an agent could easily supplement their income. And here's the reason why.
Okay.
If you're good at the TC side of it, that's probably the place for you. Let me see if I can phrase this maybe in a little better way. If the sales part isn't your thing, you might be really good at the TC thing. So this could be a way for you to see like, oh, wow, this is the part of real estate that I like. So I think that it's a worthwhile endeavor to look at it as a possible industry change. But some people, I think one of the common questions I get around this one is, I didn't like selling.
Yes.
Or I didn't like sales. Or I didn't like marketing. And people think that being a TC means they don't have to do that. And I got another thing to tell you. There's a lot of that has to happen. Now, it doesn't have to be the kind of selling that makes you feel like, I need to shower after I had a phone call because I got to wash all that ickiness off. You can do it your way. But have a look at why your real estate business is slow before you look at this, I think, as an opportunity for extra income.
Yes.
Now, the flip side of that is that maybe there's an agent in their office who could use a little bit of help, but that could also mentor them and help them create a better real estate business. I don't know. Talk to their broker. Kind of getting off track there. I think the last thing I would say about this is that if they're an agent, like thinking like as an agent for them, and somebody in their business, in their community said, hey, David, I'm doing this other thing. Would you do business with me? it might be a little hard for the agent for you to want to let me do TC work for you if like we're competitors, even though some market centers say no, or offices say we're not, there are no competition. We know that there's this fear that agents have, like I may take your client or any of that. So it's a really long, rambly answer to say, I don't know. I don't think this is a supplement. I think what might be better is doing other services other than TC for an agent that might not involve them. I don't know. I'm sorry. I feel like I've like rambled in a circle, but I don't think it's possible.
Can I go back to your very first point? And
Please.
I think there was something there that that I'm hearing, and I just want to bring a little clarity, or else you can tell me, no, that's not what I was thinking, is you're almost more questioning the concept of supplement. Because if their business is not doing well, supplement almost sounds like you're going to do this until your business comes back. And this may be an opportunity for, don't think of it as a supplement. You're trying to determine, maybe you do try this to determine if maybe this is the right fit for you. But that means that you're not going to end up being an agent if it is the right fit for you. Or it helps answer this wasn't the right fit for you, and you're able to test, okay, the agency was a better fit for me. Just almost the word supplement, because that's the word I hear a lot. Almost the word supplement is a misnomer of really what's happening here. And supplement also means I take on a few customers to supplement my income. How do I tell those customers I'm only keeping you as long as the market is low, but as soon as the market takes off again, I have no desire to keep serving you, because this is just supplement. I don't know. The word supplement is part of what's kind of throwing my head a bit when I
agree with you. And I think the other part that kind of digs at me with that is that, well, this is just something easy to do until.
Okay.
And I will say to you, every gray hair in this head of mine came from this industry. So,
okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make you spit your drink.
Yeah, I almost spit my water when you said that. I wasn't ready.
Because it's not easy. It's good, right? But it's not easy. We have to work hard for the people to bring people on. We have to work hard to keep those people as clients. So to think like, well, I'm going to do this for a little while to supplement, to like see, I mean, I would spend that time building my real estate business if real estate was your passion. So sorry.
No, I absolutely love it. Amity, anything on that?
I think one of the things you said, Michelle, also was exploring other opportunities, in the industry. So that could look like that could look like offering marketing services. That's not going to touch clients. You could offer graphic designs and marketing services and create, an Etsy shop with things like that. Those are viable options that you could create. And then you can have that as a passive income when your business does take back off. But choosing to be a TC because you think that it's easy and it's an easy way to supplement your income because all your competitors are going to want to work with you for this short period of time, that doesn't sound like it would quite fit.
Y'all both said that so eloquently. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna move us on to the third question here.
Thank you.
Can or how would I build a TC business while working another 9-to-5 job? What recommendations or thoughts might you have for someone that needs to keep their job, current primary source of income, going until their new TC business is capable of replacing their current income? Can someone build this on a nights and weekends? And I say quote, because that's literally what was sent to me was, can I do this on nights and weekends? What are your thoughts around that?
I think that somebody has to have a realistic long-term goal with that.
Okay.
I was one of those people that started building a lot of my business before I started my business. Figuring out the software, figuring out the marketing, figuring out, how I was going to have conversations with agents that I knew, saving, and I still didn't save enough. Right. So I think that if we're realistic with ourselves,
Mhm.
we can do a lot of work after our 9 to 5 to get ready for our business, right? To build it in a way that will make it sustainable. And we can start talking to agents and let them know, in December we're launching this, or whatever the time might be, to begin to start networking with people that could possibly send us business. I did that. I had a client a couple of years ago did that, and it worked really well for her. She was in an office as a TC and a brokerage that didn't care, wasn't as respectful as we all would have liked for her to have been treated. And that was exactly what she did. She worked on all her marketing pieces. She got all her systems together. She saved some money. And then when she was ready to launch, like, she had all that stuff together. So
Yeah.
I think that part, if we look at it from that realistic way, yes. Do I think like that we could do a little for people? I think it would be really hard during the day. Could we write a contract at night? Could we do other things at night? Yeah, sure, a little bit. But it might also come back to sort of bite you in the tail, depending on how you want your business to look. If you start your business out where you're available nights and weekends, but when you switch to working 9 to 5 for your TC business, or having those hours available, those 2 or 3 agents that you worked with before may be a little disappointed that in order for you to get started, you did this and now you're not. So that's a really long answer to say yes and no.
Yeah, I do love, I mean, a couple different things that you had mentioned. The fact is, there is work that it takes to start a business. We're not talking about being a TC. We're talking about being a small business owner.
Yeah.
Those are two very different things, two very different skill sets. And there are many things that to set yourself up properly for a small business ownership, you could actually do a lot of work to prepare yourself while you're doing that 9 to 5 is what I heard. Okay. But while you were explaining that, it wasn't until later we're even talking about even working with customers at that point. Now, if we work with customers, we can say one thing, but our actions are showing proper levels of expectation. And if we're giving them proper levels of expectation that we're available on nights and weekends, and now when you open your business, you can say one thing, but what they're used to is your actions.
Yeah.
And you're asking to change that unwritten agreement with them. And you're hoping that will go well. And that could be a tough transition, is from what I'm hearing you saying, that might be a tough transition that you want to take into consideration if you're working 9 to 5 and helping people on nights and weekends. If you're okay with that transition, everybody can build the business however they want. But that might,
I mean, I think the other side of that is that this is a long term or a long game, right? Or a long thing. It's not right. It's not, I have an idea today, I'm going to do it tomorrow. Even if you had experience in this industry, I still think there's so many things that need to go into it. One of the things that I often see in people in the groups and that I've worked with is they did that, right? They had an idea on Friday, they launched it on Monday. And again, like good on them. And then now they got to fix all the things that they don't like about their business, the hours, the way agents pay them, the way that just the systems, the whole thing. So I think really getting intentional about what you want, how you want it to look and feel, beginning to prep for that and save for that, and then going and do it. The last thing I want to say about this is that when you are hungry, you will do things that you probably don't want to do. So launching a business without having a cushion can really cause a lot of long, stress over the long haul, and make us do things that, we didn't really want to do, to work with people that are not respectful, or to, give things away just to keep people. And that sets us up for unfortunate situations. I think we have to be mindful of that as well.
Yeah.
Shared that. Amity?
Yeah, I absolutely, that resonates so much with me, and thinking about that it is a long game. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. in building out a business, and it's not just the actual job of doing TC work itself. One thing I love that you mentioned is networking, because I think a lot of people think that networking is something that can only happen during the day, but I don't agree with that. I think that networking is something that you can go to realtor events, you can meet people, you can connect with people, you can start writing newsletters and blogs and create and build an audience by connecting with people. And then when you are launched and you've got your audience who's paying attention to what you're saying, then you're in a good position. So I really, really love that you said that.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree with the networking at night, and even after you launch your business, there's still lots of opportunities to network at night. And I think that since you mentioned networking and at night, I also want to just throw this in, because we're coming from other industries and possibly moving into this one, or even if it is the same industry, don't think you only need a realtor event. I not only created amazing friendships, but got loads of referrals by going to other events, mostly female entrepreneur, female business events, because everyone knows real estate people.
Yeah.
So if they can go talk you up to somebody, it's just made your life so much easier. So don't think you have to only go to events to sell or to sell your services. Go to make some friends. This is being in business can be difficult and lonely and challenging and all of those things, but it can be a lot of fun too. And some of my best friends came from those events.
Amen. I love that. You circled right back to community, didn't we?
Yep.
Yeah. Look at that.
She does that. She does. My opinion.
Thank you.
I am truly grateful for you, and I will ask you one last question that was not on there. Okay. Because I just kind of want your insight on this. There are going to be people that do start their business and they do plug into community and they do the work. They do the homework. They could do so many wonderful things, but they're also asking themselves, what would be some of the key indicators that I'm ready to give Micelle a call and maybe ask about what coaching would look like, or if coaching is a good direction for me at this stage of my business? What would you say would be some of those triggers that might help them to say, you know what? I have done a lot of my work and stuff, but I really think just meeting with someone, whether it's weekly, twice a month, once a month for a coaching might be a good thing for me at this point.
Thank you. I think I would say, if it's not what you thought it would be, and you want to make changes to it that can allow you to create the business that you want, not just, and I'm not talking numbers, right? Because I know plenty of people that make loads of money that are miserable. So I'm talking about the business that excites you, that fuels you, that fills your cup, and one that allows you to feel the way that you want to feel in your day. I'm a firm believer success looks different to everyone. So if you have a vision of what you want it to look like and you are stuck with how to make that happen, those are my favorite people to work with.
Yeah. Oh, what a beautiful transition. So huge amount of love and respect to you, my friend.
Oh, thank you. You too. Y'all, both of you.
Amity, anything else to close us out here?
No, I just have to say thank you so much for doing everything that you do for our community, and how you are the bright example of how to show up. I feel so grateful that you have taught me how to show up for the community, and I'm proud to know you and have you as a mentor, and I'm so glad that you did this with us today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. I'd love to just say one more thing before we do close this out. My final words would just be kind. Be kind when you have a question. Be kind when you answer a question. Be kind. It's so quick nowadays to be snippy and to say things behind a screen, but be kind. Like, bring that to all of your conversations. The world could use a little more of that, even in this space.
I love it. And I'll just close then with this. This is a part of a series, and nobody was asked for their opinion without careful consideration. These are people we love, we respect, we consider them industry leaders, but it's more than just the industry leader part. It is who they are as a human being, their heart, their spirit, and their soul, and how they show up for others. And Micelle is certainly no exception to that. So thank you, my friend.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Have a great day, Micelle. We will let you go, but thank you
All
so
right.
much for your time.
Bye, y'all.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Awesome. Well, welcome
All right.
everybody. Welcome back here. As you know, or you probably know, or should know, this is a series. This is one of many videos that we're doing. And what we're doing is we are speaking to industry experts. And when I say industry, I'm talking specifically about the TC community, independent transaction coordinators, okay? Small business owners that happen to provide transaction coordination as a service, okay? And what we're asking is the industry leaders to give their opinion on some common questions that we see pop up, if not daily, multiple times per week within a lot of the Facebook transaction coordinator groups. And today's guest for the next half hour is going to be Micelle, someone that is very close, near and dear to my heart, not only for her knowledge. She's a freak of nature in this industry. Everybody knows it. Everybody loves her. But just as a human being, this is good humans right here, okay, with the right heart. So not only will she be able to bring some great information and insight, but to know her intent behind those, she is here to serve this community, and she has done so for more than a few years. And so I'm going to read through the 3 questions, then I'm going to ask Micelle to tell us a little bit about who she is. And if I remember right, you've been in this industry since about 95, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're just getting started. Okay, so Michelle's coming with a lot of information. So we'll start the video with just quickly reviewing what are the 3 questions that we're going to ask Micelle to answer, and then we're going to get Micelle in here. So the first question that she is going to help us with is, can I build, or how realistic would it be for someone with no real estate experience? That's the key phrase that everyone gives us. If I had no real estate experience, how realistic is it for someone to build a TC business? We've seen some of the community that seem incredibly supportive of those that are considering on doing this, while others seem to be much less encouraging. Okay, so that's going to be the first one. Second one, we seem to be seeing a number of real estate agents that have considered starting their own TC company to help supplement their income while the market is going through a shift. And it's been hard to generate business and income as an agent. So what would Michelle's perspective be if an agent were to ask about that? Because we get that quite a bit as well. And the third and last one we're going to ask for Michelle's insight is, can I, or how would I build a TC business while working another 9-to-5 type job? What recommendations or thoughts might you have for someone that needs to keep their job, which is their current primary source of income, going until their new TC business is capable of replacing their current income? Can someone build this on nights and weekends? So, Micelle, before Amity goes back and asks for your insight on each one of these, I'm going to tell us a little bit about you. I can brag on you forever, but give me some of the credentials so people know who you are.
Oh, wonderful. Well, first, thank you for having me. Appreciate being part of the series. My name is Micelle Martinez. I own and operate Hometown Transaction Coordinators. We're based out of South Florida and serve 13 states. As David so greatly acknowledged, I've been in the industry since 1995, literally when MLS was DOS, and contracts had carbon paper on them.
Yep.
Those were fantastic days. So for me, I just love being a TC. I've worked as a TC, as a loan processor. I even at some point worked helping people reduce their property taxes. And yes, that was during the downturn because we couldn't sell anything.
Yeah.
So for me, I love real estate. I love real estate support. I love helping others, especially during this critical moment. You know, it's a very big investment, and someone to be there to guide you, not only your agent, but a support system that's available it's always been amazing. So that's what I do, what I love, and I love helping others do the same.
I love it. I love it. Amity, help us
All
out.
right. Yeah, let's get to it. So our 3 questions, we're going to start with the first one. Can I build, or how realistic would it be for someone with no previous real estate experience to build a TC business? We've seen some in the community that seem incredibly supportive of those that are considering doing this, while others seem to be much less encouraging. How do you feel about that?
So first, it's a business,
Yes.
right? And a business requires your full dedication, and it's not necessarily just real estate. You're starting a business. So are you comfortable in starting a business? I am not going to define to you what the credentials are needed to do this job, how you're supposed to do anything. You have to be comfortable that you are capable in doing this business. If you say yes, fantastic. You're going to open a business.
Yep.
Now, you have defined a transaction management business. Are you planning to work on the paperwork or hire other folks to handle the paperwork? Because you don't have to do that part if you don't know how to do it. You can hire others to do it for you. So for me, when I see people, I have no real estate experience, but I want to open a transaction management business, I'm like, sure, open a business. But how are you going to open that business? Who's going to service this business for you, since you don't have the experience of what that A to Z looks like for this particular business? No one said you had to work production. You can totally finance, open a business, and have that take care of the community that you serve, because you see this as a need for your community. So I am a believer that yes, you can open this business. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're maybe ready to actually process paperwork. But again, this is a skill that you can learn. A lot of people forget, when I started way back when, even though it may not be considered an entry-level position, my agents thought it was, and threw me on a desk and said, hey, here's how I did a file. This is my checklist. Figure it out. You're smart.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm here like, if that's how I started, and I knew absolutely nothing. I was a 17-year-old girl in a real estate office, and I was like, okay, sure, let's figure out life here. That is, if you're going to take, I call that the school of hard knocks approach. I don't know anything, but I'm going to start this and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Just take the dedication and care to learn absolutely everything that you can in order to do and perform this role to the best of your abilities, and be honest. Be incredibly honest, because you are operating under the purview of your licensee. So if you tell them, hey friend, I would love to provide this service to you, but I need you to know, I have maybe reviewed this contract once. I went to your association and took that class, and I don't have any actual practical experience, but I have a more or less idea. If you're willing to work with me and make sure that I'm doing things to the way that you need me to do it with, I would love to work with you. So opportunities out there, you know, there's not enough TCs in this world to help all the agents that are out there. There is a space for everyone. At least that's my point of view.
Oh my gosh, so many fun things we could pull out of that. Amity, something,
Yeah.
anything you want to pull out of that?
Yeah, so the first thing that really struck me, and I think it's because it's the first time that anyone has suggested this in our conversations, is you don't have to be the one doing the production. If you want to create a business and you want to provide this service to your industry, you can bring the people in. I thought that was a really interesting point, and one that we really don't hear very often when we're considering the answer to that question.
Amen. I'm taking notes furiously here, so I'm having a hard time stopping and pulling out a couple things, because I've got too many things. But I'll just start at the bottom. Something that you said right at the end that I I believe with all of my heart, but I don't think it gets enough attention, and you just pulled it right out, which is this. There is enough business out there. There is. There is. You getting in business or a bunch more people getting into this business does not reduce your ability to create a profitable business. There is enough business to be had out there, period.
Yep.
So I love that you brought that up, because you're the first person to bring that up. And I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. I'm a positive thinker anyway, so I kind of naturally would lean that would be, the way I would think anyways. It wouldn't matter if I think that way or not. It's still the truth. There is business out there. So thank you for bringing that up. You also said, be honest. And I wrote down after that, you didn't say these exact words, but it's the way I translated. So correct me if I misrepresenting what you were saying. But when the be honest, I wrote, don't misrepresent your knowledge and experience.
Exactly.
That's how I took that. And I think that's worth repeating. And so I really appreciate you saying that. And I'm going to take it one step further. When you had said, my translation, there is business out there. Okay. Same thing is you don't need to misrepresent yourself to get that business.
Exactly.
So don't. So I love that you brought those. I really appreciate both of those. I'm going to leave it at that, because those are a couple things that you pointed out that we haven't heard on other calls. But the one thing that then let's just say that we have heard on most calls is this: the way you are speaking. So let's pull it out. The way you are speaking, you are very much separating the difference between being a small business owner and a transaction coordinator.
Yep.
These are two different things. Okay. And so I love that is kind of in one way or another come up in every single one of these calls. So I really appreciate you bringing that up, because we are not talking to transaction coordinators for this video series. We are talking to small business owners that happen to choose transaction management, transaction coordination as the service that they're going to provide with their small business. So I love that separation. I think it's an important one. So Amity, anything else, or do you want to go on to?
No, I think let's go on.
Okay.
All right. So question number 2, this is coming from agents in the community. We seem to be seeing a number of real estate agents that have considered starting their own company to help supplement their income while the market is going through a shift, and it's been hard to generate business and income as an agent. What do you think about this topic, Michelle?
So, again, you're going to open a real estate support agency. No one said that you can't. And if you want to open up an additional stream of income to your business as a real estate professional and being part of this industry, do it. You don't need anyone's vote of confidence or thumbs up or approval to do this. Maybe your broker, let them know what you're doing, because it is within the same scope of industry that you're aligned in. But just remember to take off the hat. One time you're a realtor, the other time you're a business owner, and in that business you're happy to be servicing the people in your community. I think that it's great. I always tell everybody, take your own assessments, be very true about what you like to do. There's a reason you loved real estate sales. Do you also love being a supportive role? Do you love organizing? Do you love all the things that entails this role, if that's what you want to do? But again, you can also just open the business, hire the TCs, and create a stream of revenue where you are the operating manager, the director of ops of your agency, and you're doing the sales, the recruitment, and doing all the things for that business, except doing production, because it's not your highest calling or your zone of genius. But yes, you can open a business. Why not? There is still enough business for everyone. There's not enough TC agencies out there for all the agents that are in this industry now and the ones that are coming. Yeah. So to me, it's still the same question as the first one. Can I? Of course you can. Do you want to? You're the one that answers, because it's another business. have the time for it? Are you available for it? And what do you want to do with it? You can create anything if you put your mind to it.
Okay. Amity?
Yeah, I mean, I think hitting that again and again and again, it's a business. It's a business, and you're building a business, and I love again that you are making it, you're framing it that you don't have to be the one who is the actual operator of the business. You can be the partner, you can be, you can be generating, doing the things that you're good at, operating in your zone of genius. And I think that's a great way to think about that. And also, again, not one that we have really heard that kind of response before. So I love it. I love it.
I'm going to go back to the first question, and I'm going to grab two statements that you said, because we're focusing on the fact that this is a business. The question is basically, do you want to open up another business? And I liked how you started. You said, take a personal assessment. You've got to determine if this is even the right business for you to start, whether this is a business you'll enjoy, all that kind of stuff. Okay. I loved your phrase, the personal assessment. But now I'm going back to your first answer, or question to the first answer. You said two phrases that hit me with this one. Number one, are you ready? Ask yourself, are you ready to start a business? Now, as a realtor, you already have a small business. Yeah. So now, going back to her first thing is, are you ready to start another business? Because this, okay, or add services to your existing. How are you going to do that? Are you ready to do that? Do you even want to do that? Second of all, is you said, starting a business requires your full dedication. Okay, so it is going to take a full dedication to run this as a business and to have a business that has any kind of longevity to it. So, so I think your consistency from answer 1 to 2, which is so interesting because there are two different audiences asking those questions.
Yep. One
is people that are thinking about becoming TCs. The other ones are people that are already in this industry, but your answer didn't change for either side.
Nope.
I find that really interesting and good, consistent.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anything else that either one of you want to add on top of that?
No, I'm good.
All right.
I mean, I think I would actually add, or add in that understanding too. When you talked about the personal assessment, is understanding, that your skill set as a realtor might not translate to your skill set as a transaction coordinator. As a business owner, yes, maybe, but the skill set of actually performing the role is an important assessment to take for yourself. So I like that as well. All right.
For me, though, I'm going to add to that, because I've had agents reaching out to me. They want to either join my firm or help them open their own agency. And I ask the questions, how many files do you usually process on your own? Because they usually, I do my own files and I do great. I was like, yes, you do fantastic. You are giving yourself all the A+ and all the stars. But one thing is handling one deal. The other thing is handling 5.
Yeah.
What do you do when you have 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 on your desk? And that is where, I want to emphasize that is what you're looking at if you want to do production, if you want to be on the desk. Because in order for you to make a livable wage in this day and age, you want to charge XYZ, I don't even know what the national average is anymore. They keep changing, but it's a couple $100 is usually what I hear for this type of work. In order for you to have an income that sustains you, you're going to be doing, double-digit files on your desk. Are you ready to handle that?
Yeah.
And if not, are you ready to hire someone that will do that part and pay them well for it while you're also doing your part as a business owner? So those are the opportunities that are available, but you do have to think about when you're taking that self-assessment.
Yeah.
Be honest with yourself of how many checklists do you really want to be looking at if you want to run the desk.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Great.
All
okay.
right.
So
number 3.
Number 3, can I, or how would I build a TC business while working another 9-to-5 type job? What recommendations or thoughts might you have for someone who needs to keep their job, that's their primary source of income, going until their new TC business is capable of replacing their current income? Can someone build this on nights and weekends?
I love this question because when I opened my agency with the Woodsman, my first one, this is my second agency that I've opened. I originated the first one working a 9-to-5.
Okay.
And as I was, the opportunity presented itself. Again, I've always been on this desk. And at the time I was working as an executive assistant for a luxury agent. And it so happened to be the cooperative agent on the other side who was like, I need you for myself. And I was like, well, how would that look like? I had no idea that this was an industry. Here I am, 2015, sitting on a desk, doing the things that I always love to do. And someone brings this opportunity to me. I, of course, then speak to my then employer and I explained to them, hey, this opportunity is coming up. And they gave me their blessing. I happen to be in the real estate industry. This is also a realtor. And that co-op agent happened to be another luxury agent in their sphere of influence. And they were okay with me doing this work for them. That doesn't necessarily mean that in your 9-to-5, that's what you're going to do, but that's what I ended up doing. So I specifically set boundaries right off the bat because primarily I am her EA. You are a gig for me right now, right? You're a supplemental income for me right now. And so I had to be honest. I mean, I'm not going to be able to pick up your calls during XYZ time because this is where I'm working on my primary role. I'm going to charge you X because these are the things that I'm going to do. I'm going to give you this, that, the other, and I'm going to fulfill this and make sure that you get paid and the brokerage gets their things. I was able to outline kind of a package for the agent that made sense with the job that I had and was primary to me. So I told them, I'm not calling anybody because at this time I'm calling and doing all the things for her.
Yeah.
Okay. If I have to give you a call, it may be during my lunchtime just to tell you, hey, you got some documents you need to sign, whatever. And you have to be okay with that. Are you okay with this is my availability? So I say all that's how I started. And then it quickly grew from there because as people started seeing my name and they're like, oh, can I do this too? I was like, oh my God, I did not know that this is what was going to happen. So I continued to have those same conversations until it was like, holy smokes. Yeah. I am working till 11, scheduling emails and doing all the things. And I have to make a choice, right? At that point, I had to make a choice of whether I was going to continue to stay employed or continue with this business. So I say all that. Yes, you can open your organization. Yes, you can create services, offerings that cater to your schedule. Okay. Whether that is, hey, it's no phone calls. I'm going to do compliance services. I'll send you an email. I'll give you reminders. And if you need me to draft any documents, it'll be after hours, right? If that's something that you want to offer, you don't even have to offer that. Yep. You don't have to offer everything that everybody else offers. And it could be something that you offer that is just perfect for that person that says, hey, you know what, that works for me. Yeah, we could do it. As long as you're honest about what you can do and what you're willing to provide. And someone says, yes, hello, this is the world of commerce. You got a sale. Yep. You got a new customer. You got a client. You can move forward. But just tell people what you can and cannot do and just tell them, hey, look, this is this for me. You don't even have to say all that really. Just say, this is what I'm offering. This is how you can get in contact with me. You set the rules. It's your business.
Yep.
Yeah. And again, you're saying being honest.
Yep.
And being honest. And in the other two questions, it was being honest with yourself. But here we're being honest with other people, the other people that you're assisting and helping and setting the framework for how your businesses are going to connect and operate together. That's absolutely key.
You're being honest with yourself, you're being honest with your client, but you started by talking about the honesty with your current employer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I appreciated that the honesty thing has run through a couple of these answers. But honesty goes in many different directions. There is honesty with self, there is honesty with customers, and there is honesty with your current employers in this particular situation. The other thing that you said, I know a lot of people use the word boundaries, and I use the words proper levels of expectation, assuming for this conversation they mean the same thing. We're just providing that customer with a proper level of expectation of what services we're going to provide. Now, that takes us back again to the previous answers that you gave, which is, why can I do that? Because this is about you owning your own business. And because you own your own business, that's actually a choice you get. You actually get to make those decisions. So everything that Micelle is saying, it really runs, every answer that she's giving runs through questions 1, 2, and 3 very, very consistently and predictably, which is just beautiful. And I would expect nothing less out of Micelle, but it's nice to hear it. It's nice to hear it. And the reason why we do this series, these questions come up all of the time, and we care, and we want to make sure a resource is available that you can get answers to these things. But you can see just with how Micelle answered these are hard to answer in a 2 to 3 sentence reply in a Facebook group.
Yeah.
It's just hard. It's just hard. So I really appreciate it. Micelle, anything else that you would like to share with us in regard to any of this or common questions that you hear?
I think for me, it's important for everyone that if you are a part of this industry, if you are engaging in real estate support, there is nothing that is close to you bar of harming others, right? That's not what we're here to do, right?
Yeah.
But if you can dream something for yourself, you can definitely achieve it. And just taking that time to be clear for you so that you can convey that clarity for others is all that's really needed to be in the world of commerce, to have a business, to do any of the things that we do. So all power to you. Keep joining the forces. We need help. It's not like I can serve all these people out here, and all the people that are already here, we can't do it either. Yeah. So the more that join the ranks, the better for us, because hey, there's strength in numbers.
Yep.
Huge tons, love, respect, and appreciation for you. Amity, anything on the way out?
No, thank you so much, Micelle. It was great to finally talk with you, and I loved listening to your insights. Amazing.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, you will see that this is a series again. There's a number of other industry experts, and you can see just by this example, we bring in the best. It's all good. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to our video series, asking some 3 common questions we're starting to see come up very frequently in our transaction coordinator community. So today we have one of our guests, Amanda Churchwell, is here with us. We're very excited to have her here. And we are going to be asking the 3 questions we've been focusing on in this series. The first question we're asking today is, can I build, or how realistic would it be for someone with 0 previous real estate experience to build a TC business? The second question is that we seem to be seeing a number of agents that are considering starting their own TC company to help supplement their income while the market is going through the shift. And then third is, can I, or how would I build a TC business while working another 9-to-5 job? So Amanda, that is what we're here talking about today. We're so excited that you were able to join us. You are well admired in our industry and quite the powerhouse. I think of what you're building with your company as being an empire, and I'm just so grateful that you're able to take time out with David and I today to have this important conversation. Before we get into the questions, please share with us a little bit about what you've been up to and what's going on in the world of Amanda.
Thank you, Amity, and thank you, David, both for having me. I'm thrilled to be here as always, and I appreciate the kind words. You know, Hello Leverage is hello leveraging.
Mhm.
So we are, you know, continuing to build. My goal has been from almost the very beginning, you know, to go nationwide, build as big as we can. The bigger you are, the more people you have on your team. It's just the more impact that you have in life. And so for me, I'm not really interested in just getting up for myself. It's about, you know, our people, as well as myself and my family. But the kiddos are growing up, probably a little bit more since the last time we talked. I officially now have a teenager, so we've got a 13-year-old daughter. She's amazing, and our 8-year-old daughter is a little firecracker, and then our son, it just turned 7. So they're keeping us really busy and very involved at school and church. And so we are just moving on. And now it's holiday season. I don't know how we got here, but so yeah, that's and I, you know, I forget about our dog. I know we're animal lovers here. I totally am, but we got a puppy last year, but she hasn't cemented herself into my self intro. But Lily Bear, our Great Pyrenees, she's like a great polar bear. So but that rounds out our family. So we're all doing well.
Yeah. And Amanda, you've been certainly, you know, you've been a part of my heart for a while now, and I have a huge amount of respect for you and love for you and just who you are and what you do. But I do have a specific question. You mentioned the company name Hello Leverage, which was not its original name. How long ago did you change that name?
So we changed it. This is our 11th year. We changed it January of last year. I always have to
Okay.
think because it feels like longer
Yeah.
than, but it was January of last year that we changed it. So that would
Yeah.
have been our going into our 10 or completing our 10th year.
And I wanted to mention that because so many company names talk about it's this and this TC management or TC coordination and stuff. And when you change it to Hello Leverage, it just spoke so much
Oh,
to
God.
me. I just loved that. So I wanted to point that out. I was thinking about your company name today, and I'm like, first of all, I kind of freaking love that. And based on who you guys are and who you represent yourselves, and you really do provide a freakish level of leverage for your clients. I loved the company name and the change. And so I was just thinking about that and how it epitomizes who you guys are and what you do provide to your customers. And I don't know, I was just really,
We're having fun with it for sure. People love
yeah,
it.
absolutely. There is a spirit of fun about it versus more of a technical name, and I just enjoy it. And I'm also it's fun to see the hello sign right behind you as well. So
Yes.
all
That
right.
was like Dollar General special, I think, a year or so ago. So I saw that. I was like, gotta have it.
Okay, last question I'm going to ask about the introduction of Amanda and Hello Leverage. You guys are in a lot of states. You are not doing transactions in 2, 3, 4, 5 states. How many states are you in now?
30.
Yeah.
Stopped it there. Like I've been saying 30 for about a year now. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
we went wide really quick. So
Yeah.
now we're focusing on going, you know, deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got crazy there. So
Yeah.
30
Awesome.
exciting.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And she's certainly an organization that I have referred a number of agents to for states that I have not been working in or do not have a direct contact for, and for states that I have direct contacts for, but I'm just a huge lover of what Amanda and her team brings to the table. So certainly a fan, no doubt. All right, let's dive in and just get your thoughts, your perspective, your opinions on a couple of things that we see very commonly in our industry. Or questions. So let's start with the first one. What is your feeling when someone asks, and I'm going to read the longer version of the question, and it's not that we have a longer version. We're kind of copying and paste this from what we literally see inside the Facebook groups. And this is kind of the way that we see it and the verbiage they use. Can I build, or how realistic would it be for someone with no real estate experience to build a TC business? We've seen some in the community that seem incredibly supportive of those that are considering of doing this, while others seem to be much less encouraging.
Sure.
Both perspectives are out there. Where do you stand with that, and what would you say to that?
I think both perspectives are valid. I think that the approach in which you answer this is what makes all the difference, right? And so one, who am I to tell somebody with no experience in anything that they can't do it? I mean, I don't tell my kids that, right? So if you don't have experience in something, whether it be TC or real estate or anything, and you are passionate about and you really want to do it and you actually think it's a sound business decision, then absolutely go for it. That just means you're going to have to work harder than somebody that has experience, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to have to educate yourself. You're going to be, maybe working twice as hard or three times as hard as someone with experience would in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because once you get a little bit of experience under your belt, then you're no longer inexperienced, right? And so is it hard? Is it hard with experience? Yes. Is it going to be harder without? Yeah, probably. But again, you know your talent level, you know your tolerance for pain and rejection and, failing forward. And so I think if you go in eyes wide open, I feel very confidently if I wanted to go start a business in something and I'd never done that before, I could go figure out how to do it.
Okay.
So I think if you have that same fortitude and, personality, you can totally do it.
Okay. So you just brought up a phrase that we have not heard in any of our interviews that I really love, because I do know this about myself. So I just happen to resonate with this statement. I haven't heard it yet. Is your pain tolerance, self-awareness. And I say it constantly, self-awareness is my freaking superpower. But I hadn't put it in perspective of what you're talking about right now, is that when you're going to start your own business, there's a certain amount of pain, however you want to define that or whatever that looks like for you or whatever, but not only being aware of that, but being aware of how you handle that.
Mm-hmm.
And so your pain tolerance is, I love that you brought that up.
Yeah. And I think what we try to do is we pull from our own experience and we want to save the person from heartache and headache. And we just want to get to, but really you're not answering their question. Like, and I'm very literal. I'm like, you want to start a business with no experience? More power to you. Just go do it the right way though. In terms of right, I mean, is there a right way? But like, go educate yourself, go figure it out. And you do need to be self-aware. And I do appreciate those people who do share the not so glamorous side of the business, because people need to know what they're getting into. And they're asking that question for that reason. What am I about to get myself into? I think where we don't like, you and I, Amity, is we don't like to see people kind of pounce and crush someone else's dreams.
Yeah.
And so if we keep that in mind, it's really not my business to crush your dreams or to give my opinion on your dreams, right? It just is to give my opinion on my experience.
And you did start with, that is how you started, is it's okay to have an opinion and answer either direction, supportive or, basically being informative about the real challenges. But it's how, and your tone and your delivery actually has real value as well. Not just your answer and your opinion, but your actual approach and your level of compassion actually matters. Yeah. Amity, anything else that she had pointed out that you want to?
Yeah, that was exactly where I was going with it, because I really liked what you said, Amanda, in who am I to say that, no, you can't do this? Mm-hmm. And we're talking about pain tolerance and what your level of pain is for as going into a new business. The person who's on the other side who is seeing this question also has to ask themselves and be self-aware themselves of what their tolerance is for sharing information and offering guidance and how and where they are in their own personal journey on deciding how kind they can be in answering that question, how compassionate they can be.
I think in our groups that we see these questions come in,
mm-hmm.
There's a lot of very talented and experienced people, and yet they may be taking a quick second to answer. And that's why you see I don't answer a lot, because I believe those types of questions, warrant a really, compassionate, to use your word, response. And it's more than you can really put, in the comment section there. And so I think we just try to get it done fast because we are trying to be helpful and just not aware of how it comes across.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. I do want to just point out one last thing that does definitely run through every interview that we've done. You are definitely talking about someone starting their own business. You're seeing this as a business, not separating the difference between being a small business owner and knowing how to do transaction management.
Right.
Okay. You are talking about them not just becoming a transaction coordinator. You can go on a team and work with an agent who W-2s you, or a brokerage or anything else like that. That's very different than starting your own business. And
1,000%.
every word that came out of your mouth, you're speaking to the small business owner or someone that's considering becoming a small business owner.
Yes.
And I love that distinction in just the way that you're delivering that, because that has been every person so far. They have been speaking of this as if they were speaking to someone that is a small business owner or considering on starting their own small business, not as someone who's thinking, I think I want to do transaction management. I want to be a TC. We're
Yeah,
talking about small
the
business.
job and owning and running a business are entirely worlds apart.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I did want to point that out. That's been a consistent thing across here, but in your tone and in your delivery, that's very much what I was getting anyways, that you are seeing them as small business owners or speaking to the small business owner. Okay, let's go on to number 2. And I'm going to be honest with you again, is a lot of this is taking a direct quote from the questions as we see them, but there's 2 different directions that we're getting this question. We do see some of these questions in the Facebook transaction coordinator groups. And I say that, and this morning I woke up and there was this exact same question was in one of the real estate groups. It's actually one of the nation's largest real estate Facebook groups. An agent asked this, but the second way that I get this question is direct messages, because agents may not want to reveal themselves and where they stand on this issue within the groups. So it's interesting. I saw an agent actually bring this up in the real estate groups today. I've seen people bring it up in TC groups, and then I've seen people that just want a little bit more privacy and try to have a direct conversation with someone because they don't want to reveal that their volume is struggling for them or their business. So agents, we seem to be seeing a number of real estate agents that have considered starting their own TC company, quotations, to help supplement my income while the market is going through a shift. And it's been hard to generate business and income as an agent. So usually I'm hearing the word supplement in there. Another word I'm hearing, and I could pull the book out behind me, shift, all in capitals. And then from there is, it's been hard to generate business and income as an agent. So what would you have to share with them?
So yeah, I mean, they have to do what they need to do for their family and for themselves, right? To earn income. Again, I think that an agent is a great person to know how to TC. Are they always the best at actually doing it and following it through, like on a massive scale? Depends on the personality of the agent, right? I think the normal profile is probably your DEI profile, but I'm talking about the DISC behavioral profiles, right? And so, but there are a lot of agents who are your type A, your SC, who are really into the details, which, side note, that may be hurting your production because you like to be in the details, right? But that's another topic if you want to do that. Yeah, I mean, look, thinking about what I'm building, one, I'm very competitive, but I also play nice with others, right? So I can be competitive and be a good competitor, right? So I'm out for the business. I want the business. I want all the transactions I can get. Can I do them all? No. So there's really no point in me being upset if somebody's gonna, in my, sphere, I'm seeing, well, these agents are starting their own, or they're being transaction coordinators and taking business from me. It's not really a good use of time to think that way. And again, what right do I have to tell an agent that they shouldn't be doing that? I think they have the experience if they've done transactions themselves, right? And if they want to do it on the side, or they want to quit selling and go start a business like I did, go for it, right? I think it's very simple. I mean, why not?
Amity, what did you want to pull out of that?
So first of all, I love talking about the DISC and transaction coordinators versus agents. That's one of my favorite distinctions, is the personality types of successful people in either industry and where they fall and in the personality test. So I love that you brought that up, because I believe it resonates with me that a successful agent isn't necessarily a successful transaction coordinator, or vice versa. I personally was a horrible agent, but I think I'm pretty good at it as a transaction coordinator and business owner. So that is that piece really resonates with me. And then that again, who am I to tell you? You've got, you being an agent, you almost have a leg up in getting into the back end side of it, because you do have the basis of the knowledge of the contract versus not knowing anything, and that's going to give you a leg. And absolutely go for it.
I think that what we're really trying to convey when we as transaction coordinators see that, and maybe there's this visceral reaction to it, I think it's more of, don't come in here and muck it up, right? Like, if you're going to do it well. If you're and so I think it's the same thing in any industry, right? If you have those who are true professionals and they take pride in what they do and they're out to provide and deliver amazing service, then that bodes well for the industry that they're in. Those that don't, and they're just coming in, coming out, and maybe they just kind of tarnish the reputation a little bit in the industry, so that when I do go to consult with a potential client, they're like, well, I had this transaction coordinator one time and they were and so I think it's not so much that those that are against it or speak out about it negatively, I don't think that's what they really mean. I think they mean don't muck it up.
So
Love that.
don't muck it out, coming in, coming out. So a lot of times I talk about, there are certain things that are triggering words. I use the word trigger a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think the word that I'm hearing a lot in those questions is the word supplement.
Mm-hmm.
While my business is struggling. And I think that can give the industry an indication that you're not giving us an impression that you're excited about opening this business and then you're excited about this being a long-term thing. So the impression that you said, we don't want you coming in, coming out. We don't want you to come in knowing this really isn't what you're devoted to. And you're just going to be in for a little while, and you have a chance of mucking it up if you're just in there just to make a couple bucks until things are good again. So the word supplement almost helps someone give that tone of, I'm having a hard time answering this because it feels like you're not really truly committed to this. You're just planning on doing this for a little while it's good for you.
Yeah.
But you're not looking at what's good for the industry, not looking at what this as a long-term thing. We don't feel that you're quite part of the family.
Yeah.
Community.
Yeah, that's I will say, like, what comes to mind is, I'm not going to hire someone who tells me that.
Yes.
Not because they may not, but like, I'm going to recommend that they just take on a couple agents in their office who need help. That's supplement. Like, if you are a solo TC, you make a lot more than an employed TC. Let's be real about that, right? But you're also the one doing all the things. So you're a solo TC, but you're in charge of sales and onboarding and client retention, and you got to do the service. And guess what? You're in charge of complaints and billing and bookkeeping and taxes and all those things, right? And so you should get paid more. And so I would say that, like, an agent who's looking to supplement their income, no problem with that. You have again, why would I have a problem with that? I don't have a right to have a problem with that. What I'm not going to do, though, is like put you in touch with this company or hire you for my company. Like, no, just be in your office, grab a couple of agents that need, maybe they want to share an assistant, and go for it, right? But I'm not going to spend my time in the groups. I'm certainly not going to help train you, like, not because I don't care about you, but this is not something that you're making a career. It's a side hustle, and we've all been there. I mean, we've all needed to make extra income, before, I'm sure. And so again, when you talk about, do they have the right, or do we think it's a good idea? That's not really up to me, right?
Mhm.
What is up to me is to protect my interest, and then just tell the truth, right? Whatever your question is, like, okay, sure, go do that. Just
Yep.
don't do it here.
Yep.
I'm not going to hire you to just supplementing your income.
Okay. And I will ask the last question, but before I do that, I do want to say I loved one other thing that you did point out is you can be competitive and so on and so forth. But the fact is, you already know you are not going to be doing everybody's transaction in the entire country. Doesn't mean that you won't end up doing transactions in every state, but you're still not doing every transaction in every state. In other words, there is business out there.
Even in this market,
there's enough business
4
out there.
million. I mean, yeah, you're going to go from 6 million homes to 4 million homes, right? Okay, there's still 4 million.
4 million homes.
Two sides.
Right.
Like, that's 8 million sides. Like,
Yeah, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
we're going to be okay.
And I wanted to point that out because that was also, that point was made by someone else in another video, that here's the thing is anybody who is scared that there's just not enough business out there and they're afraid of more people entering this industry, don't get it. There's plenty of business out there. And so I wanted to point that out. It was almost more of a passing statement that you made, but I wanted to point out that you're saying there is business out there. There really is. Okay. So, okay. Question 3, the last question. This is about that person who is trying to or considering building a business while they've got to make their income on their primary. So it's, can I or how would I build a TC business while working another 9-to-5 type of job? What recommendations or thoughts might you have for someone that needs to keep their job because it's their current primary source of income going until their new TC business is capable of replacing their current income? Can someone build this on a nights and weekends?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So before you say anything beyond yes, which I just love that was just quick right out of your mouth, is understand that I want to be fair to everybody who's asking this questions. Some are specifically asking, can I do it on nights and weekends? Obviously, that's who I copied this question from. Others are still saying, can I also build it part-time? And they are trying to build it part-time during the week. So there's multiple ways to build something part-time. But I love that you're immediately like, yeah, we got it. Okay.
So, and part of your question was how, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so, several things came to mind. So you first, again, know thyself. Okay. How organized are you? How professional are you? How do you carry yourself first? And this is really anything in life. Like, don't let me go down a rabbit hole here, but you need to already be working on yourself. I think if I would have been farther along in my personal growth journey, my business would be even, bigger than it is today if I would have been started. But I got a few years into it and then started working on my leadership skills and then started working on, okay, all right, now you're just solo, you're thinking, how can I do this with another job? So I think that you need to outline very simply, what am I going to offer? What do I have to offer? What are the services I want to do? And what is the time that I have to do it in? So if your nights and weekends, secret, in case you don't know, agents want you to work nights and weekends, and we don't. So you already got a leg up on us. But no, so you just hear the hours that I have. And if you have a plan in place and a vision for your business to get you out of your JOB and your 9-to-5, tell that story. Tell that story on your sales consults. People love that when you are personal and they know that you're building something for your family or for you. You're single, you've got cats or dogs or donkeys or whoever, like whatever you're building it for, tell the story. People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. Trust is earned most of the time, right? And so that you'll build up, and the way you build trust is by actually doing what you say you're going to do. So be very careful in what you say you're going to do. So make sure you know when you're going to work, why you're going to work those hours, and then hold the line, hold your boundary, and stay true to that. And also, if you don't want to always work nights and weekends, but you need to up front, just say, hey, I'm going to start my business by working nights and weekends, but Mr. Agent, in so many months or, whenever I'm able to leave my job, I'm going to go full time and it will convert to a, daytime, right? So you can tell people that. Like, they're not going to not do business with you because you told them that. The reasons people won't do business with you is if you're not able to articulate what value you bring to them. What can you do for them? That's really all they care about, to be honest. What can you do for them and their business? But transparency is key. Trying to hide and trying to pretend and being stressed out all day because you can't answer that email, you can't do that. And maybe you can't do, I think you can, but maybe you don't do full transaction management at first. Maybe you say, I'm going to do compliance and I'm going to do all the things that don't require a daytime response for you. And then we'll build up to that full TC capacity, right?
Yep.
So yes, you can absolutely do it. Don't let anything stop you if that's what you want to do. And all three questions, by the way.
Yep.
And you absolutely can set your boundaries, know what you're offering, and be willing to change when it doesn't work. If something doesn't work, be willing to change, and don't be afraid for your clients. That they're not going to like this, they're not going to like that. Thinking of it as a business makes your decisions so much easier.
Amity, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking that I hear, you just have to be honest. You have to be honest about what you're doing, and honest with not only yourself about what you're capable of providing, but being honest with your agent and the client, what you can do for them. I really love that you put it that way, because you're right. That's really what an agent wants to know, is they want to know what you can do for them. And when you tell them what you can do for them, you need to be prepared to do that for them.
Yeah.
And I will say is, I love that as you're answering, it was an obvious yes right up front, but as you are answering, is you got back and reiterated one point that you have now made on every single one of these, which is, and I wrote it down, who am I to tell you that you can't do something? So the answer to all of these, yes, you can. Okay. Now, with that, in this particular answer, a couple things that I'll point out that hit me that you said is, tell your story. We've had a few people talk about be honest. Don't pretend that you're available 9 to 5 and trying to sneak out and, communicate. And, just tell them this is real. Here's the level of service I have. Here's what my real availability is. So just whatever it is, be honest. But I like that you're also saying not just be honest about levels of service, but it's okay to actually tell your story. Almost telling them, this is my dream, this is my vision. This is my story right now, and this is just what it is, and this is what I have available right now. And I will bring freakish levels of value based on the things I promise to provide. And obviously charge accordingly.
Charge accordingly, yes.
You didn't say that, I threw that in, but
yeah, I mean, truly, but it just brings people in. And I think, again, people want to do business with people that they know, like, or trust. Sometimes they'll trust you, but maybe they just don't. I mean, it's not, when I say like, don't get caught up in that either. Yes, we're human beings, we care, we're compassionate, but it's not about you. You're providing a service for them. At the end of the day, they're not your friend, they're your clients, they're your customers. And just make sure, again, that you are thinking about this from a business owner perspective. Think about businesses that you interact with. Yep. How do they show up? What are the expectations they set with you? Do you like it? Do you not like it? And being transparent and upfront gets you way farther than that, because you are going to let them down if you don't. They're going to be expecting one thing and you're not going to be able to deliver. So I think that's super important.
I love it. And I also love that you just pointed out right at the end there. It is something that goes through my head quite a bit, but I hadn't heard anybody pointed out quite that way that you just did, which was start to look, because as you're seeing this as a business owner, put it in a perspective of outside. What are the business owners that you deal with, the small business owners that you deal with? What do you expect of them? Everything that you had just said, your clients expect that same thing out of you. So really seeing this as a business owner, but not just what do you want? What do you even expect from the small business owners that you do business with? Now, how would that inform some of the decisions that you're making as you communicate with them, as you serve them, as you choose your levels of service, anything that you do? So I loved looking at that, not just as your own business, but what about those businesses you're doing business with? They're small business owners too. What do you expect out of them? Could that inform maybe decisions you should be making and communicate properly?
Yes. But the flip side of that coin is know your customer.
Yes.
Don't expect things from your customer that your customer can't give. So just know your customer. We'll leave it at
Yeah.
that. Dealing with real estate agents, you should understand the
Yeah.
mind of a real estate agent.
Yeah, 100%. Anything else, Amity?
No, I think we covered it. This is great.
All right.
This is really good.
And before we jumped on, we all have a heart for people that do ask these questions in the group. We really do. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing these video series. And sometimes we literally only choose not to answer them in the group because it's hard to give these justice when we've got 30 seconds in between calls or helping our team members or anything else like that. We love you and we want to do the best that we can and give you the best that we can. And sometimes that's just not possible in a 2-sentence, 3-sentence reply in the groups. And so, Amanda, I truly appreciate that you're willing to take a little extra time and actually speak through some of these things. Because certainly if we typed all of this out, this is a long answer on a Facebook group.
I love that you're doing the YouTube. I think getting that out, and honestly, you could have at least one a day, right? You could just take a question and go, all right, I'm going to YouTube this, because there is a lot to it. And people read tone, words don't have tone, but you can just imagine what the people are trying to, and it can come across, a little defeating, just a little let the air out of the balloon, if you will. But never want to do that. I think compassion is always the way. Grace, kindness, and compassion. Those are the three core, values that we have here that drive everything, the way we do things. It's the way we do things.
Yeah. And just a little encouragement for everybody out there, and we'll just end with this, is Amanda, you started this. You are a powerhouse yourself and everything else like that. And no matter how gifted Amanda is and everything else like that, eventually you decided to grow this into a team. And I know you are freakishly passionate about your people, your team. And that's what feeds your soul, spending time with them, working with them, and everything else. How big is your team right now?
So we are at 16 today. So we've shrank some, and that is because of efficiencies and technology. So it's
That's
weird.
a good sized team.
Yeah.
Good sized team.
We were up, 24, 25 before, but we really honed in on that. And this would not be what it is today without my people. I am
100%.
not. I've got a great vision in mind, but no, like these people are amazing, and so are all of you out there, and you absolutely can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. So awesome. And I do mention that because, guys, when we are talking about being a small business owner, you could do it by yourself. Some people do. I love the people that provide opportunity, create opportunity, and love on their people. And I wanted to bring that up because Amanda is a great example of that. And so I just wanted to honor and respect you for the leadership that you provide and what you give back to this community. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you very much. Thank you, Amity.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to see you.
All right. Well, we're going to say goodbye to everybody, and we'll hang out for 1 second after this. But everybody, thank you for listening. We do have a full series on this, probably a half a dozen videos interviewing different people. And everybody has a little different tone, a little different spirit, you're going to relate to someone, but I would say take some time through those. And for those that could use this information, feel free to share it with them as well so that they feel that they're getting what they need. So you have a great day, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, we are getting started. Everybody knows that these videos is part of a series. This is not a standalone video, okay? We have asked some industry experts some of the most commonly asked questions that we see and we know where most of us are going for a lot of our community, which is Facebook transaction coordinator groups. And it's a great place. And I'm going to encourage everybody to go there. But the fact is, there's a lot of questions that we hear over and over again. But some of those questions are a little harder to answer than others. And some of them, even if they're not hard to answer, they deserve a little longer of an answer than, say, 2 to 3 simple sentences in a Facebook reply. And so what we did is we pulled out 3 of those questions, asked a few of our favorite industry leaders, and Peter happens to be one of those folks. And so, Peter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quick summary of what those 3 questions are, and then I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit of who you are and a little bit about your business, okay?
Okay.
All right, so here are basically the 3 questions for those that are, this is their first video they're seeing. First of all, can I build, or how realistic would it be for someone with no real estate experience to build a TC business? We've seen some in the community that seem incredibly supportive of those that are considering doing this, while others seem to be much less encouraging. So that's question 1. Okay. Number 2, we seem to be seeing a number of real estate agents that have considered starting their own TC company to help supplement their income while the market is going through a shift, and it's been hard to generate business and income as an agent. So your insights on and opinions on that. That seems to be fairly common. And then the last one is this: can I, or how would I build a TC business while working another 9-to-5 type of job? What recommendations or thoughts might you have for someone that needs to keep their job, which is their current primary source of income, going until their new TC business is capable of replacing their current income? Can someone build this on a nights and weekend? So Amity's going to repeat those questions one by one with you, but I want to know, tell us a little bit about Peter. What about your business?
Okay, so I am out of South Texas. I live in Corpus Christi. I live in Texas for 7 years now. I was a producing realtor licensed for 4 years. I produced for 3 years. At the end of 2019, I wanted out of the real estate industry, completely gone. Like, I'm done. So I started interviewing with corporate retail, which I used to do. I had interviews lined up the spring of 2020. I was supposed to go to Minneapolis to meet with a very large retailer there, and COVID started. So I didn't have a house anymore. I was living on not on my sister's couch, but I was living in my sister's house in Padre Island, and I don't know why, but I was just like, they canceled the interviews. They said, we're not bringing anybody on. Nobody was hiring, so I don't know why, but I remember getting this urge to call my team leader at the Keller Williams brokerage I was at. Okay. And I asked her, Lori, can anyone be a TC in Texas? That's how much I knew, which is nothing about the TC industry. Okay. And she said, yeah, babe, call Sheila. She needs a TC. So from there, from one agent in 2020, a little over 3 years ago now, we work with over 160 agents in right now actively 4 states. We're set up in 8 states, and I have 18 contractors on the team, and myself makes 19. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Working with 160 agents, you've got a team of 18, 19 plus yourself, and this is a dude that was an agent for a while.
A little bit.
Anything about being a TC.
Nope.
And had to ask about it.
I was the guy in the Facebook groups. You'll see me in late 2020. Is there software for this? Like, is there a software? Everybody asks, what software do you use? And they're all, you list them all. Which one do you like? And I'm like, I didn't even know this existed. Like, I had no idea. I was using Google Calendar and Microsoft Excel, which I still recommend to this day for getting started. So.
And I know Peter's business personally, and it is thriving, and it's great because he was asking just a couple of years ago the exact same questions that the newest of the new people in the groups are asking. So I'm going to love your perspective on this. Amity, hit them.
All right,
Let's dig in.
I'm very curious your answers on this, David.
100%.
So, all right, here we go. First question. Can I build, or how realistic would it be for someone with no previous real estate experience to build a TC business We've seen some in the community that seem incredibly supportive of those that are considering or even doing this, while others seem much less encouraging. Tell us
Yes.
what you think.
Absolutely. Yes, you absolutely can. How realistic is it? How soon do you want to make money? Because those two things don't always line up. That's the short answer to that question for me. I did build mine from scratch, not knowing honestly anything about what a TC. I live in a town where a TC didn't even exist, so I kind of made it up as I went, if you would. Then when I started expanding myself nationally and learning more about this, I do often think, can I do this? Could I have done this without any? I could have. Relationships wouldn't have been there though.
Okay.
They just wouldn't have. I bring on TCs. I don't know that I have any TCs right now on my team that came on with 0 real estate experience. I do. I have some support team partners that have 0 real estate experience. The learning curve is astronomical. And I always say to TCs that come on, if you can't talk realtor, you're never going to connect with these real estate agents. I firmly believe that. And I'm not saying talk realtor means like no brokerage activities or no real estate law or anything. I'm saying if you can't understand how they communicate, how are you going to be able to communicate with them? That would be, in my opinion, the single biggest struggle to anyone who has no experience in this industry.
Okay.
I could put a checklist in front of a new person, put a contract in front of them and say, here, find all these dates and here, check for what's wrong. But can they effectively communicate to the agent what's wrong and why it might be wrong and how we need to fix it or when we need to fix it? What's urgent and what's not? No. Nope.
Those are a couple interesting answers that we have not heard yet. Amity, what'd you pull from that?
Yeah, I love that you're talking about relationships. And it brings me to the point of the question asking, can I have this business? And, we know as business owners that creating relationships and networking and developing the know, like, and trust factor and the real communication and connection is a crucial part of it. So I like that you recognize that.
Over 90% of that 160 agents is a referral in some way, shape, or form, a referral based. Knew someone who knew someone, if not a direct referral. 90. We don't get, this was Millie. Do I get cold calls from the website? Yes. And I would tell you the truth about those cold calls if this wasn't being recorded. But the best relationships we have with our agents are the ones that we're connected somehow. I don't know any other way. So yeah.
So I'll point out and one more thing on just that.
Yeah.
You said that, but you also started by saying, can you build this? The answer was yes. It was a definite yes.
Absolutely.
But although it's yes, it's almost that self-awareness and being honest with yourself that, okay, that will look different if you have relationships already within the industry versus if you don't. And can you do it if you don't? Sure. The answer was still yes, but it does look different. And it may be another part of your journey or struggle, whatever you want to call it.
I used to say when I saw this question posed in groups, I'd say, go get your real estate license, hang it with the broker and sell a few units first. I actually still stand behind that today. I used to get shut down a lot on that too.
Okay.
That means they were assuming that I thought that was the only way. I don't think that's the only way, but I think that's a darn good way. I didn't know when I stopped selling real estate just how many realtors in this town knew my name. I didn't know until I started doing TC work. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, I love that. The second thing is that you said that I do want to pull out is that there is real value because you have to always know who's my client, who's my customer. Okay. So if you know who your customer is, asking yourself, how confident are you or how comfortable are you to speak within their language, within their world, within their industry? So you're talking about specific verbiage, language, knowledge, all of those types of things. Now, can you start this business with no real estate experience? Who are we to say no? The answer is yes, you can, as Peter started, but
stipulations.
You're being honest about where your starting point is.
You reminded me of something. I realized maybe real estate industry experience alone for our standards is not enough to cut it. You really do have to have a level of production experience or team admin experience to really, really connect with the agents on the level that I believe they should be connected with,
Okay.
or that our agents demand.
And you were making a suggestion, and you were clear also that it's not your only suggestion and not the only way you think that works, but one way is
Correct.
get in there and actually do the job, actually be
Correct.
in the industry for a little bit in a couple different facets, probably. But
the truth is, if you, let's say you do get your real estate license and you sell for 2 years, if you go to an agent and say, I'm just here for experience, I'll cut every deal with you 50%, they will happily work with you and teach you everything they know. If you do that for 2 or 3 years and then start a TC company at the end of while you're doing that, in that same 5 years, you will have made the same amount of money. I promise you. I don't see a TC business getting up off the ground and beat out someone who got their license and started a real estate business. Or started a TC business. I just don't.
that's interesting math and perspective. I like it. And you know I love math. I'm geeky on that. So I see where you're going with that.
I have no actual experience with that last part, but
but I get it.
My gut is telling me, yeah.
It's a gut reaction, but it's backed up by some pretty good experience from you. So okay. Amity, anything else on that one, or you want to jump on number 2? Oh, we lost your audio.
Sorry about that.
There you go. We got
a trash truck coming by and I didn't want to be heard.
Okay, go for it.
All right. We seem to be seeing a number of real estate agents that have considered starting their own TC company to help supplement their income while the market is going through a shift. And it's been hard to generate business and income as an agent. What do you think about this one, Peter?
It's the word that bothers me the most is the word supplement. Like that just kept jumping out every time you said it.
Yep.
Honestly, I have actually reached out to agents on Facebook in my sphere, and they look like producing agents on their webpage, and I'm trying to get to know them. So maybe one day I get some business from them, and they're like, "Oh my God, I want to get into the TC business," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, great. That's amazing." So the truth is, I used to have strong opinions on it. Now I'm kind of like, I mean, if you can make it work, why not? I mean, I really don't see why not. I don't like the word supplement my income, because that leads me to believe they think that you can make money overnight in this industry. If you walk a good talk and you talk a good talk and you get an agent to sign up and have nothing to back it up, you're not going to make it. You're just not going to make any money. You're just not. Agents, yeah. The other thing I heard in that question was, this is assuming they're going to get back into selling real estate one day. I strongly, and David knows this about me, I have licensed TCs, licensed meaning licensed realtors on my team, and non-licensed. If you're licensed, you can't be closing deals. It's amazing that you're licensed, but I cannot have agents in the markets we do business see a TC at the closing table. There's a huge conflict of interest there. Huge. And the agents that we do business with, the majority of them recognize that. They see that. It's the agents who don't recognize that kind of worry me. Like, so I'm not trying to, but do I like the idea of in and out, or the idea of somebody thinking they can make easy money doing this? Not really, but I believe they can at first, but it's not going to last. These agents are going to see right through it. Right through it.
See right through what? That the person that's serving them is treating this as a supplemental temporary thing that they're eventually going to leave, or they will see right through what?
They'll see right through their inexperience and what a TC actually does, especially if that agent used to work with the TC.
Okay.
Like I said, and again, not that it can't be done. I just think it takes a super special person to be able to go from selling real estate to TC work overnight and showing real value to an agent. When I first started doing this, I was running broker compliance for a very, very, very low dollar fee. I thought that was TC work. And then I realized in time, it was actually Mr. Breckheimer here kind of yelling at me and said, "You're not going to make any money unless you start looking at lenders." And I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that." In my experience, most real estate agents can't even run their own transaction. What makes, I don't know.
Yeah. So only because you mentioned it,
Yes, please.
we had gone through that journey where you were
Yes.
doing, I'll call it more compliance work,
Yes.
to doing what true full TC was, but you were calling yourself TC.
Correct.
Okay. But really us discussing what a TC actually does. And here's what I will say is that you are just the perfect example of this question too, of an agent saying, I'm thinking about starting a business, but you weren't thinking about it supplemental. You took it very serious.
I took it, yeah, I was
Perspective.
out.
You took it very serious that this was your thing. You were committed to this one thing. You were committed to growing this business, at least from what I saw. And that's what I got out of you when I first met you.
It wasn't until I realized when I first started doing it, I had it, let me go back. I had a TC when I was selling.
Yeah.
She made sure I got paid on time and like my paperwork got submitted.
Yeah.
But that's what I did. That's what I thought I would do. But then I think it wasn't until 3 or 4 months in that I started to realize there's money to be made here. And I really enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
So I didn't go in with the mindset of expecting to make until I actually got into it and saw it. But I think a lot of people come into it today. I know I've had 2 phone calls so far this week from realtors locally that want TC work. And it breaks my heart to have to tell them that it's no different than generating business on the real estate side. You got to do that on this side too. I don't know if there is a magic TC company out there that has tons of business to give to transaction coordinators. You got to go out and we got to go out and find it.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
Amity, and I've been stealing this one for number 2, just because we've had these conversations and interaction, Peter, on this particular one for a while now. And so I would almost love to do a whole hour just on this topic with him. But Amity, what have you picked out so far that you want to point out?
So if you don't mind, if you could go a little deeper on the conflict of interest point, because I think that there's a misunderstanding from transaction coordinators and agents and where that conflict could come in. So if you could discuss that with us a little bit, that would be great.
Sure. So I like to use a different analogy that's not TC realtor. So I'm going to use realtor, but second realtor is also an insurance agent. Like I see this a lot in these brokerages. So let's say I'm a producing realtor and Amity, you're a realtor that also has your insurance license. I'm buddy with you in the brokerage, so I'm going to send you my buyers to get insurance quotes. I'm not saying you would do this, but let's say it's very easy for you to form a relationship with that buyer so that when their contract terminates, maybe they go to you because they realize you're licensed. The point is I have access to my client's money maker, which is their database.
Mm-hmm.
So my company has a very strict non-disclosure, non-solicitation setup, and we take that very, very seriously. And the truth is, I've always believed in these situations, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, because I can sit here and say to you, I know there's TCs out there that sell real estate and run TC business. If it works for them, that's great. The truth is, in my opinion, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, that one of their clients ends up at the closing table with their TC. It's a matter of when, because in their mind, that's their client. Whether or not the client chose to work with either of them, if they talk to them first, we're not going down that road. We're just not. Also, I do believe it is impossible to give the level of service the agent deserves from their TC if you're producing and selling real estate. I just do not see it. My real estate clients, if I was still selling today, would be number 1, not the agents on my roster.
Well
said.
Sorry, I have very strong feelings on this. I really, really do. Now, that being said, TC's on my team. If you want to sell a unit here and there, have at it. But once a year, no one really sells on my immediate team at all. But no, not a good idea.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing your opinion on that, because I think there really is there is confusion about it, and I think you're right, is that people don't go in thinking they're going to abscond with the information.
No, not at all.
It's never usually the original intent, but the temptation as human beings when you're hungry could lead you down that path. So I think that's a great point.
I also do, sometimes I do think it's easier to, this is controversial too, it's easier to not be licensed in this industry. But I do recommend carrying a license, but a non-producing one at that. So.
Yep. Okay, awesome. Amity, what's that third question?
All right, here we go. Number 3. Can I, or how would I build a TC business while working another 9-to-5 job? What recommendations or thoughts might you have for someone that needs to keep their job, that's their primary source of income, going until their new TC business is capable of replacing their current income? Can someone build this on the nights and the weekends?
And again, can they? Yes.
Hmm.
In this case, though, it will get cut off real fast. This one's for me is almost a non-starter versus the first question. On my team, we have what I call support team partners, and I have one support team partner is moving to the Middle East, and she's going to work. That can be done after hours. Like, to me, support team work, shuffling documents, uploading, intaking new contracts, that kind of stuff. That's where I would suggest somebody start if they really want to start. But as far as building a TC business and doing a desk job 9-to-5, I believe it's factually impossible.
Okay, but let's be clear, unless I'm misunderstanding. You're separating the difference between someone becoming a TC or any other role, because there's quite a few roles, whether it's
Right.
a evening assistant or anything else like that,
Right.
to being a small business owner that happens to provide transaction management as a service. You're saying that becoming the business owner and building a TC business is an absolute no for you, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't take a part-time job to get your foot in the industry somewhere else within that. Did I understand that or read that right or hear that right?
If I'm working a 9-to-5 desk job, can I build a TC business? Sure, I can. I can build a TC business from. I'm a big Gary Vee fan. I could build a TC business. I could make it work. But when the day comes when you're absolutely exhausted and I don't believe it's sustainable. I just don't. I do think you can build yourself to a point where you've got the business set up, you got everything ready to go. You might be working for 1 or 2 agents that understand your role 9-to-5. You're doing a limited service to begin with because those are business hours.
Limited service, and what you just said, I'm saying, is you're giving those agents full disclosure of what available hours are too. So true honesty and transparency is what you just said. Okay.
And when you're set up and you're ready to let go of that dedicated 9-to-5, you'll hit the ground running. You probably will. It's still going to take 6 to 9 months just to start turning an income. And I have an interview with, not an interview, I do have a call with someone who's in this situation, and I can't just tell her right away on email, no, it won't work. I'm going to call her and tell her what the reasons why it won't work. And me as a business owner, I will not bring anybody on who has a W-2 position. I just won't.
Okay.
I don't care if it's I've yet to meet someone who only has a W-2 3 hours during the business day, but if you have a W-2 job half of the business day, you can't do this. We're available to our agents from 9 until 6. So not like drop of the hat available, but we're available.
Okay, so again, clarity is part of why this matters. Is you want to make sure that at least you're trying to make the point that whether you're starting your own TC business or even someone joining your team, that we have certain business hours that are almost expected that we have availability to the client.
Yes, to fulfill the terms of an agreement. Yes.
Yeah. And if you're not going to be fully available during those hours, you did say, though, that there is a difference between giving full disclosure to a few agents and saying, I'm going to have limited services and it's for these specific hours. So you could do that part. And you also said you could just be, the other work that you're doing is actually setting up your business during that time. So can I ask you now to go a tad, as Emily did on the previous question, I'm going to ask you to go a tad bit deeper on this one. What do you mean by setting up the business? What are the things that they could do to set up their business?
So I'm going to say all of this I'm going to preempt it with, Personally, I would need an actual contract agent live experience to be able to do this, but you need to set up your checklist, your best practices, your email templates. I can set all that up all day long, but the minute I put it into practice, I'm going to change everything because I'm going to realize it's not effective. So even that part itself, when I was saying it, I was thinking that's going to be hard to do, to set everything up that's ready to go, because you're going to be changing it as you go.
Okay, because it needs to be pressure tested, which is actually
Yep.
putting volume through it.
Yep, exactly.
Amity, thoughts on anything that he shared there?
So, I mean, on that last piece, and I'm not going to give my full entire opinion about this particular topic. But what I do want to say is that a lot of times the objections that we hear in Facebook groups surround this question of, will someone share with me their TC template? Will someone share with me a template for this kind of email? And some people are like generously giving to them. And some people are like, go make your own templates. You can't have my work, and it gets a little angry. And the point I want to make there is you talked about, you're going to take the time to build out your checklist and your templates, and then you're going to change them all. And what I am pulling out from that personally is my opinion on this piece of it is, they don't know that.
No.
If you're brand new coming into the industry, you have no idea what a checklist or a template looks like. You don't know how simple it is to draft an email saying, can I get a copy of earnest money receipt? It's not a novel.
It's right.
but they don't know that. They
No.
don't know that yet. And so that's where your response led me to think about, yeah, you're absolutely right, is that you are going to change it once you know it, because it's not going to sound like you, and you're going to want it to sound like you. So
when I first started, I was against email templates. I wanted everything to be a personalized, whatever. Today we have over 300 email templates, but I would say over 90% of our communication is personalized initial contact, but it's just ingrained that we just move on. But to get to that point, it's not going to happen after 6 p.m.
Yeah.
It's just not. So
Awesome. Peter, is there anything else that you'd like to share with someone that's considering getting into this business beyond those 3 questions? Because those 3 come up in one form or another, if not every day in the groups, a couple times per week, literally. Anything else that you see that's common within the groups that you just want to speak on at all?
No, I mean, I will say, if you're looking to get into this business, just listen and just look at what other people are doing. I mean, we're all watching each other, and there's at least, I can think of 3, 4, 5 off the top of my head that if I was just starting today, I would just go and listen and follow along with what they're doing and pick up on it. I do think a lot of people try to put the cart before the horse in this industry. My team knows that I'm a big jump in, and David would disagree with this. I'm not a jump in and figure it out later kind of person, but I'm a jump in and let's get some work done and find a benchmark kind of person. So I think people want it to be too perfect too soon. There's no industry standard for this, and that's what makes it so amazing. I will be watching for new companies in this industry, and I always say to myself, I'm not being mean when I say this. I do want to put you out of business, because that's how competitive I am. Like, I'm not going to put you out of business, but I'm just thinking, I'm watching you because I need to make sure I'm ahead of you. So we're watching too.
I'm going to say this is, when you said David would disagree with this about me, here's what I say, and I tell everybody this when I introduce Peter, is Peter is a true applicator. He watches, he listens, he is non-stop learning, and then what he does with that information, he goes and applies. He knows that when he applies it, it may not be perfect.
Right.
He's still applying. He is a master applicator, and I'm a huge fan of that. So we are going to call this an end. We're going to say goodbye, but Peter, I'm just telling you, I totally appreciate you, totally grateful for you.
Of course.
Amity, I'm so glad that you two got to hang out together, because it's 2 people I truly appreciate, and I really appreciate everything that you had to share, Peter.
All right, you guys.
thank you so much.
Have a great day, everyone. Take care. Bye. All right, ready?
Let's do it.
All right, Amity, let's do this. We have had a blast the last couple of weeks, and we have been able to meet and interview some people that we respect to no end.
Yes.
This has been a great experience, and this is our opportunity to answer the same 3 questions that we asked all of our guests. So I want to learn a little bit about you and have you share a little bit with everybody, just who you are, so they know the context and they know your experience, which is ridiculous and awesome. And I'm just honored to be working with you. But I'm going to quick list out what those 3 questions are, and then I want to hear your story a little bit, okay? And then you and I will go back and forth in regards to that. So we asked 5 top industry experts these same 3 questions because we see them all the time in the different Facebook groups, and we get messaged them personally. The first one is can I build, or how realistic is it for me to build a TC business with no real estate experience? We'll read the full question when we get to it, but that's the basics of it. The second question is this we get from agents, both in groups, but also direct messages to us. Basically, can I build a TC company to help supplement my income while the business is tough? We'll definitely read the full question again, but that's the summary of it, okay? The third one is going to be this, it's going to be TCs, or I should say people that are considering getting into the TC business or starting a small business, and they're currently working a 9-to-5 job, and they can't afford to quit their 9-to-5 job until they actually have an income to replace it. So the question that we get a lot is can, or more importantly, how would I build a TC business while working another 9-to-5 type of job? What recommendations might you have, so on and so forth. So we'll go through that, okay?
Yeah.
So those are the questions that we had a bunch of industry experts answer. You and I are going to give our answers, but tell me about Amity.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm really excited that we got to do this project together. My name is Amity Kraus, and I started back in real estate in 2018. I got licensed. I was licensed for a year, and I sold real estate, and I really didn't love it. I started working in operations at the brokerage and fell in love with the contracts and process and systems. That's always been where my head was. So I took over operations for that brokerage and then started doing some TC work on the side in 2019. And that led me to working with a team of agents, growing from myself and one agent to a team of 50 agents and 7 TCs and or admins.
Yeah.
And that has been an amazing journey that we've been on, where the TC side of the business, that operation is in 12 states in 18 markets. In 2022, we did over 2,000 transactions and $1 billion in volume. And every time I say it, I'm like, yes, that's a B.
Yeah.
So really, really incredible experience and amazing thing. And this year I journeyed into to coaching and training transaction coordinators and started a company called True North Transaction Services, and have a podcast that is launched a few weeks ago, a great Facebook page, and a wonderful community. And it's been a really exciting way to wrap up 2023 for me.
Okay, so as you can hear, Amity is freakishly qualified to be answering these 3 questions. But those that you're not writing this all down, just know that wherever we have these videos posted, hardcore, we're going to be putting all of her credentials down there and links to her websites, her Facebook groups, and everything else like that. So if you would like to reach out to Amity for any reason, coaching or otherwise, just touch base with her and let her know just how much you appreciated what she had to offer here. All of that contact information will be there. Now, my background, we're going to spend as little time as possible talking about me, is the reason why I have no hair. I started this in 97, just kidding, but I did start it in 97 in the mortgage business. I did mortgages for about 3.5 years, basically working with agents and their buyers. And I don't mean this to be rude, but I was looking at what the agents were doing, and I said, give me a break. I could do what they do better than they do in my sleep with more ethics. It just drove me nuts. Now that was now notice who I am today. I'm Mr. Positive about everything. And back in 97, I had a bit of a negative connotation about what I felt about the real estate industry. So I did get licensed back after working with mortgages for 3.5 years, worked both. The real estate market really took off for me and I had to choose one or the other. And I went real estate and kind of never looked back. I still love mortgages and get geeky about it, but it really was real estate that I went to and I stuck with. And since then, I've been a producing agent where we've closed myself with no admin, no teams, closed over 100 homes per year, then became a broker. My niche was, I loved me some for sale by owners. Loved it. Anybody wants to talk about that? Let's go. That was my jam. Loved it. But closing 100 homes per year, then became a broker, then started bringing on teams and everything else like that. Then my passion changed and all I cared about were systems. I wanted people to be more efficient. I care about people's mental health, and I don't think working 60, 70 hours a week is something that is sustainable, nor do I think it's healthy for the soul. And because of that, what I cared about is I became a freak of nature about systems, and I wanted people to be able to produce the income that they were producing now in 40 hours or less per week. And I've been on that kick for over 20 years now. That's what I've cared about. So that drove me into systems, admin, the back end of the real estate, which really then all of a sudden got me into the admin and the TC side of things. And I've had a coaching business a number of years and courses and all this other kind of stuff around the small business ownership side of things and the TC. And I coach agents and teams. So that's kind of my deal. Anybody needs me can reach out to me. That's all good and fine. We'll have the credentials down there and who cares. So anyways, let's move on. Let's move on to the questions. So Amity, we're going to banter back and forth on this, but give me a couple of your key points on the first one. So I'll just read the question. Can I build, or how realistic would it be for someone with no previous real estate experience to build a TC business? We have seen some in the community that are very supportive of people that are asking those questions. We've had other people that sound a little less encouraging, a little less supportive. Where do you come in and what's your read on that?
I come in on the, of course you can.
Okay.
I feel, and after observing experiencing things myself, observing skill sets that people have, transaction coordinators have, and how it translates to other career paths. I do think that that with the right skill set, with the right mindset, you do not need to be experienced in real estate. My one caveat is, though.
Just one?
Just one. Probably more, but one is, how hard do you want to work if you don't know anything about real estate? Because it is very, very complex. It is much more than sending a quick email asking for an update or following up on something. It is much more robust than that. And if you aren't, as one of our interviewers or interviewees, Michelle Spalding said, you've got to be scrappy. You've got to be resourceful. And if that isn't in your skill set, it's going to be a struggle.
Okay, so when you talk about the word, because I had said resourceful in our interview, and then she translated that and she goes, you mean scrappy? And I loved that she actually just went in that direction. I'm going to say this, that's a big deal to me, I don't know that everybody is equipped to be not just a TC, but actually a small business owner. We don't all have to be wired the same way. But here is one thing that I will say about, I do think that one of the number one characteristics that if you could have, it would be how resourceful Just know thyself. How resourceful are you, or how scrappy are you willing to be? But with that said, I can't stress this enough, and people have heard this from me for years, is I treat everything as a learnable skill, period. Everything is a learnable skill. Don't give me this, that's not my trait, that's not how I lean. Who cares? If you want to be something different, you can become something different. So if you want to learn how to be resourceful, there is absolutely a way for you to gain that as a skill set and become a trait, a strong trait of yours, okay? But I would agree with Michelle, is 100% resourceful and scrappy. I just love that she said that. Is by far going to be one of your number one, and I would say it's one of the number one missing traits for those that get in the business and don't last in the business.
I agree with that. And it brings me to think about the TCs that maybe they've decided to go independent. They are now running their own business.
Yep.
They are fortunate enough that they have a couple of agents, but they never learned how to be a business owner.
Yep.
And they never learned how to take control of a process.
Yep.
They may have been fantastic as an admin. They may have been working as at a brokerage. They may have been working at some sort of employment where they were always given direction on what to do. And that is a great thing. Being able to take direction is wonderful. But if you're going to be a transaction coordinator who's exceptionally successful, you have to be able to think for yourself, be able to look ahead and see what's coming down the road, and not wait for somebody to tell you what to do about it.
Yeah. So I have so many notes in front of me here that I just would, because you're already kind of hitting some of them. So let's break a few things out for people here. And I'd love your feedback on some of this as well. Is I think really what we're talking about when people ask that question, can I build, or how realistic would it be for me to build, or someone to build with no previous real estate experience? Okay, so I think we're missing a huge point here just to answer that and say, yes, you can, no, you can't, how realistic, it's hard, all that other kind of thing. I think before we can even answer that, first of all, you can do anything that you put your mind to. Fine, great. Sounds like a great answer. You know, good fluff. Way to go. Okay, but let's get helpful. Okay, if we're going to be really helpful, what we want to do is break this down for you. This is not about being a TC. And this is not about being a business owner. These are different skill sets. What you're asking is can someone with no experience means no experience. It also means no existing network. Where are you going to get your clients? All that kind of stuff. That's the small business owner side of things, okay? Not knowing how, because we think that the experience that's needed for TC work is to know how to go from contract to post-close. Give me a break. I can teach anybody what's on a task list to go from contract to post-close. That's not the real job here. Okay, forget being a small business owner. As a TC, the real job is not going from contract to post-close. It is handling 30, 50, 70 of those at the same time. That's a different job. I can teach anyone within weeks, or let's just say we really went out there and I took 6 months and couldn't have gotten more detailed. I can teach anybody what it takes in a couple weeks, max couple months, what it takes to get a file from contract to post-close. But that's not the job. Anybody can learn that. And I literally mean anybody can. Because here's the thing is, you get to cheat all day long. There's a task list in front of you that tells you what you're missing and everything. Really what this job is from a TC standpoint, in my opinion, it's high-level project management. It's project management. It is not real estate. You have to know the real estate part to go from contract to post-close and know what could be missing and what to do about it and everything else. But anybody can learn that. That doesn't mean that you can handle 30, 40, 50 of those files at the same time. Now, with what the average TC is getting per file, people are like, I don't know if I want a business that big. Okay, we're just talking about building here a 60, 70, 80, $90,000, $100,000 income. I'm not talking about being a millionaire. Okay. So because you're not making thousands of dollars per file, you might be making hundreds of dollars per file. To make a I'm just going to generalize this, reasonable income, you're going to be handling on the low end 30 files at once. Myself, I got used to always having 100 files simultaneously. It's between 70. My max was usually 125 files. Okay. Yes, I know how to go contract to post close on every one of those. That's not what's hard. Once you know that, you just kind of know it. But how to project manage 30, 70, 100 of those simultaneously, that's the TC job. I haven't even talked about going into small business. Now, from a small business standpoint, okay, so when you say you have no real estate experience, I'm also going to say this. If you have no real estate experience, the next experience to ask you is, do you have small business ownership experience? And is that experience successful? If you've started a couple businesses and they've failed, you got to ask yourself, why did they not work in the first place? Because you are opening a small business. So experience is a couple things. It's both real estate. It is both TC work. It is both project management, but it's also all the experience that it takes to own and run a small business. Now, the last thing I'll say on that, which I'm pulling from all of the other interviews that we did, because I agree with them 100%, ask yourself this one question, why? Why do you have to start with no experience? Why is that such a big deal? And I'm going to, gosh, I could go to any one of the five. Amity knows I could go to any one of the five. I'm just going to use Peter's. Peter's one of the folks that we interviewed, and he said there's basic math to it. He says, I am convinced, and there's no proof or data on this, he said, but I'm convinced based on my experience that if someone was willing to go work for someone else for 2 to 3 years, that if they looked at starting their own business and look at where they were after 5 years, they have no experience and they didn't go out and get any, and they started their business, where they would be in 5 years versus go get 2 years experience in the actual field, go sell some homes, go work with a team or anything, and then start your business, go another 3 years. So now you have an equal 5. He went as far as saying, I guarantee, although I can't guarantee, I guarantee basically that you will be farther along after 5 years if you actually, now he didn't use this next word, but I'm going to use it. If you just humble yourself, go get the experience. So the question is, why? Why? Why don't you have experience, and why would you have to start without experience? Now, if you absolutely insist on doing it that way, can you do it? Absolutely. But know your pain tolerance. You have a much harder road than someone that is coming in with experience, because you don't know the language, you don't know the processes, you don't know the systems, you don't have the network, as Peter talks about.
Yep.
You're in this business for a couple of years. In any other role, you've met a lot of people. You start providing that service, you already have a fan base. It's just a whole different world. So that would, I appreciate it. I wanted to bring up a couple of the interviews and separate a few things, because I think when they ask those questions, sometimes they don't even know what they're asking. That I'm coming in with no experience. No experience on what specifically?
Yeah.
On contract to post close, on project management, on lead generation, on setting this up as a legal business, on what are we talking about? No experience, because there's a lot of things to gain experience on. Can you do it? 100%. Yes. But think through this.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with going and getting an experience.
Nothing wrong with it at all. Nothing wrong with it at all. And that was one of the things with Peter's interview that I really liked too, is that if you go and get the experience, you will be further ahead at the end of 5 years than if you try to do it without, because it's giving you that leg up.
Yep.
It is.
And here's the last thing I will say on that, and I'll keep this part really short, is I went back and I listened to all 5 of those interviews last night and this morning.
Oh, you did.
So I did, I think 3 last night, and then
You had a real refresher.
Yeah, I wanted a refresher. And here's what I didn't quite pick up the first time, because I was in the middle of it and everything. Not all of them, but almost all of them. And I'll use Micelle Spalding. She's a great example. And she's a TC coach and small business owner coach and everything else like that. I didn't catch it during our interview. She says, It took me 10 years before I actually opened up my own business. 10 years. And another one, the number was 5. Peter was not either one of those, and Peter was an agent for 2 years. So even out of the 5 people that we interviewed, 4 of them had been doing this for over 2 years or more before they actually started their business. And Micelle was out to 10.
Yeah.
She was a closer and everything else like that. Okay. I thought Nicole's story was interesting, giving people a little bit of prelims. You can go check these out. I liked what she said. She says, during that time, why didn't I saved up money. I set up my business. I did all the things. Then the day I started with files day one versus starting and trying to figure out where she's going to get business. She laid all the groundwork, put together her websites, put together logos, saved money, put her systems together and everything, told everybody for months, way before she started. So when she opened on day one,
Ready
she
to go.
literally processed contracts on day one. Okay. Pretty amazing.
Yep. Hit the ground running.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else on that particular one that you want to talk about?
I think, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that hit everything. Lights for sure.
So I'm going to go back because I say this a lot, but I want to honor that it was also said by one of our guests. It was actually in one way or another said by more than one of our guests, but I'll just bring up Peter again because he was specific about it. He said, and I don't have his exact words in front of me, but basically, how quickly do you need to make money?
Mm.
Okay. And he says, I don't see anybody really turning, say, a profit and being able to make a livable income. I mean, he would have been shocked if someone would do it in 6 to 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here's a question is, even if you're not working a 9-to-5 job, here's my question for you. Would you still build this business if you knew I'm not going with 6 to 9 months?
Yeah.
Because people treat yourself like an agent. People say it may take you 2 to 3 years before you really build your business up to that point. If you're going to be an agent, would you be willing to do what it takes for 2 to 3 years to know that you have a sustainable, profitable, long-term business? Think of this as a small business owner. How long would you work? Because I do get questions and they're like, I mean, I need to make a paycheck this month. 2 months and I'm in trouble. Okay. So I will say, because I have it in front of me, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now, some people are going to look at these as negative statistics. I'm Mr. Positive all day long, so I'm going to show you how I look at them. Might be a little backwards, but it's the way I do things. Data from the BLS shows approximately 20% of new businesses fail during the first 2 years of being open, 45% during the first 5 years, and 65% during the first 10 years. Only 25% of the new businesses make it to 15 years. Here's the way I look at it. I can't help it. That excites me so much. Okay. I'm like, dude, because I am part of that 25. 15 years from now, I'm part of that 25. I am so excited. I actually am going to make it. Like, I don't even understand the 75 part. Why would I want to be a part of that group? I'm not. I have decided I am part of that 25. It's like I'm not capable of thinking I'm not part of that 25. So here's the question for you is, if you knew those numbers, does that scare you? Or do you know your own, as Amanda said, your own pain tolerance? And you know for a fact, you could start any business, not TC, not agents, anything, fitness industry, anything. You could start anything, and you literally know for a fact you'll be scrappy and resourceful enough to figure out how to make it work and last. Because Amanda was adamant. She goes, I don't even care. I don't care what business I know nothing about and I start tomorrow. I know for a fact it'll succeed. And that's kind of how I run too.
Mhm.
And that's not ego. I just know that I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to do the homework. I'm willing to go figure out how to get the experience. I'm willing to look at what are all the successful businesses in that industry. What does their business model look like?
Yeah.
I'm that geeky about all of it. I can't fail. That's not an ego thing. That's just me being humble enough to say it requires a lot. And I will do a lot.
Yeah.
And I will also
And
figure out how to do it in 40 hours or less a week, by the way.
right. Well, and you commit, you don't let it just
Yeah.
be an idea that's bouncing around in your head and that
Yeah.
you throw something at the wall and you stick it, you hope that it sticks. You have a plan. You have even if it's not a traditional business plan like we were taught,
Yep.
it is still a plan. It's a strategy of how you're
Yeah.
going to get from one thing to the other. So if you think that because someone told you you'd be really good at this, that this is what you're going to do now, I'm going to go and I'm going to be a transaction coordinator, I'm going to kill it.
Yep.
Because, so and so told me that I would be. If you don't have a plan of how you're going to get there,
Yep.
then no, ma'am, you are not going to kill it. Let's have a plan.
Yeah. I'll close with this too, and then we'll go on to number 2 is I happened to be listening to Gary Vee this morning, and he says, a lot of you guys are all trying to figure out how to kill it as a small business owner or just as a business owner. And he says, some of you are not long-term suited to be business owners. There's nothing wrong with that in any way, shape, or form. Okay. A lot of good small business owners employ and provide amazing opportunities to people. And he says, do you realize that the average person who is number 2, 3, or 4 in their company, generally speaking, takes home more money than the actual small business owner? You could be the best number 2 out there. You could be the best number 3. You could be the best number 4 and potentially own less things, have less stress, everything, and create a different lifestyle, the one that you are hoping to have. Okay. So don't think that if you go get the experience and go work for someone else, that you will eventually change your mind and say, I'm doing this because I really wanted to start my own thing. That may not be a bad deal. Okay. And I love that he pointed that out. I'm like, you go. That's a great point. It's a freaking great point. Okay. I like being a small business owner. Okay. But I've worked for teams too, and I loved it.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 2. What the heck was it? Okay. This is the agent. So I'll read the question.
Yeah.
We seem to be seeing a number of real estate agents that have considered starting their own TC business to help supplement their income while the market is going through a shift. And it's been hard to generate business and income as an agent. So we see this in groups. I've seen it in TC groups. Agents go in there and they ask questions. Okay, what do you think about starting a TC business as an agent, as a supplemental income, blah, 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 blah. I've seen it in real estate agent groups, but I get it more as a direct message to me because I get it. They want to keep the fact private that their business isn't doing as well as they would like to. They're embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
Want to make this a private conversation. So that's fine. What's your take on that?
So the first thing that I take on it is that the agents that are asking that question are not asking about necessarily building a TC business.
Okay.
What they're asking is, can they get into TC, take on a few files to float them for a few months?
Okay.
That's what I observe when I see those questions, what they're really asking, because in most instances I don't see that agent saying, I'm going to have, now I'm talking about individual agents. I'm not talking about team leads or team brokerages that are looking to expand, like the expansion teams. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm seeing those questions typically from an individual agent who is struggling in today's market, selling houses, and they're looking for alternatives so that they can keep going. So I would say in those instances, if you're a single agent and you need to pick up some money because you need to pay your mortgage. You don't want to go back to working a retail job or an office job. Can you do this? If you have a good network and you have people in there that trust you, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. If you have those people who are willing to throw you a couple of files because of the relationships that you've developed over the years, can it float you for a little bit? Maybe. You know, it depends on how many files, depends on what you're doing, how many, you know, those things, because we talked about this before. We're not talking about that TCs make thousands of dollars per transaction. You know, some markets it's under $300. Some markets it's, you know, a little bit more. Some it is not. If you're only doing 2 or 3 files a month, is that enough to maybe help you buy groceries? Yes, that probably is enough. But is it enough to have a business? No, I would say no. You can't have 2 separate focuses. And the reason why I bring up about trusting you is that what we hear a lot from agents, and we hear this in the communities about agents who have concerns about working with licensed transaction coordinators. In particular, if those licensed transaction coordinators are still selling houses. If it's in referral status, there's probably a little bit more comfort there if their license is there. But if they're an active agent, there is concern on the other agent side of loss of security and their conflict of interest, loss of security in their data, someone taking their systems, their proprietary ideas. We know agents are very protective about their information. We have huge teams where we know that they have powerful CRMs that can do so much to help them, and they refuse to put their leads in the CRMs because they don't want to lose their data and take the risk that their broker or their team lead is going to know who their lead is. I mean, that the leads, the customer base, the database is the most powerful asset that an agent has, and they are very protective of it. And so that's why the trust is incredibly important if you're going to be a licensed agent working with another licensed agent and this is not your full-time job.
And let's call it out, is you may be, and I mean this at the highest level, I'm not, you know, you could be the most ethical person in the industry and you have no intention on stealing anybody's database, anybody's client, anything else like that. But let's also assume you're good people and people like you. Okay, here's what you can't control. You do an amazing job for that agent. You help their buyer and seller. Eventually, that buyer and seller, through that process, get to know you as well. You may have zero, and I mean literally zero, intention, and you even have ways to steer them back to the client all the time, okay? But they may actually enjoy working with you more than they do that agent, okay? So now all of a sudden, they're working with both of you. They close the transaction. That agent got his client, closed it, everything else like that, but they have referrals and they know you're licensed. And so now they're sending the referrals to you because they're like, gosh, to be honest, we got more help from you and we enjoyed working with you more. And if we're going to send some of our friends to someone, we're sending them to you. You don't want any of that, okay? But they are sending them to you, okay? Here's the other thing. All of a sudden, 3 years from now, they're looking to buy and sell again. They've got to sell their place and buy another place. And who would they rather work with? Okay, so you may have zero intention on taking anybody's client. It's not always up to you. It's not about you going after them. Assuming you're any good at what you do and you're a likable person, there's going to be some people that just would rather do business with you than who their agent was. Okay, as an agent, that's a conflict of interest on every level. Okay, they have every right as an agent to be concerned about their database, and they have every right to say, you know what, I do want a TC, but it ain't going to be you. Okay. If you are talking about doing this, because the key word that we're hearing in these questions are, what do you think? I mean, the business is low for me and I'm thinking about supplement. What does supplement mean? Are you talking about closing your real estate business and building this as a separate business? This is your thing now. So now there's no conflict of interest because you never have an intention when the business picks back up again on taking buyers and sellers and everything else like that. You have zero intention on going back to that. This is your thing now. But if you're doing this and taking a file here and there and everything else like that, and all of a sudden your business picks back up and everybody knows that that's what your real goal is to have a beautiful, profitable, long-sustaining real estate business as an agent, I don't know that I'd be giving my business to you as a TC either. I mean, it's just honest. The other thing that did come up is, and I would say, I think all 5 of them brought it up in one way or another, and that is this: asking yourself why. Okay, why is your business not producing the way that you want it to? Now, there may be multiple reasons why, but we're just going to call out one for this particular because it ran through most of our guests, okay, which is this: lead gen. Okay, lead gen may not be your favorite thing. It may not be your strength. It may not be where you have built the best part of your business. If you are going to start a small TC business, number one thing that you're going to need to make that work is customers. You have to have customers. Okay? You are not leaving one business where you're struggling with lead gen and going to another one that the lead gen is easier, that the lead gen is more of a given, that the lead gen, any of that kind of stuff. You might be able to create a profitable business by closing 2 people a month on the real estate side, but you might have to be working with 15, 20, 30 agents a month over here. Well, you've got to build up those 20, 30 agents over here, okay? It's still lead gen. So if the reason why your business is not succeeding is because of lead gen, it will not solve itself by going from this role in the industry to this role.
Yes.
You literally are trading one for the other. And I would say, Mr. Positive over here, that one's a hard pass for me to be positive. That if lead gen is where you struggle, I would say, do you really want to stay in the industry? Okay. Get some coaching on that, get some helping on that, get some training on that, because I don't care what side you go on. If that's a struggle, you need help on that. Because if you can't develop business, you're a small business owner.
Yep.
That's required. Okay. So that came up with a lot of people as well.
It did come up a lot.
Anything else that you want to say? That we talked about conflict of interest. We talked about why the TC versus real estate. We talked about the lead gen side of it. Anything else?
I think we covered everything. Actually, one other thing. Micelle Martinez said this. She said, "Is your broker okay with that?"
100%.
You know, that's also an important question. Yes, you are an independent contractor, but there are some rules, state to state, broker to broker. So there are some legality questions, policy questions that you also have to answer if you're going to go down that path.
If you're an agent and you haven't gone out and gotten your own broker's license, as an agent, you have a broker holding your license. They definitely have a bit of a say in a bit of what you do. Okay. You don't represent yourself. You technically represent the broker that is holding your license. Now, if some of the services that you are providing, this would become a long video. I'm not even going to go down all that.
Yeah.
Talk to your broker. Okay. And what they did say was, this came up a couple times. Micelle brought it up. A couple people brought it up. And one of the times, one of the words that came up was transparency. Just be willing to be transparent. Don't try to do something on the side and hope that it's okay, or assume that you know that it's okay. Well, if you know so well that it's okay, then why wouldn't you want
Why
to?
wouldn't you? Yeah.
That,
Why would
that
you?
would confuse me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I thank you for bringing that up. Absolutely. So let's go on to the next one. Can or how would I build a TC business while working 9 to 5 type of job? What recommendations or thoughts might you have for someone that needs to keep their job, which is their current primary source of income, going until their new TC business is capable of replacing their current income? In other words, can I build this while I'm working another full-time job? Can I do it on nights and weekends? What does that look like? Any thoughts on that?
Well, and I think that what you said, can I build this, is the key piece.
Okay.
Because the building part, figuring out your systems, figuring out your checklists and your templates and all of those things, your billing practices, your policies, your procedures, anything that you are going to need a system for, your marketing, your lead generate, all of it. Can those things be done after hours, on nights and weekends?
Absolutely.
100%. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And that is what I think everyone we talked to pretty much said, yes, that's the way that you need to go.
Yeah.
Because what isn't necessarily realistic is trying to operate your TC business where you are available to clients, being responsive and a resource for the clients, the buyer, the seller, the lender, the title company, whoever, the inspectors. If you're not available during the hours that business operates, then you are going to have a rough time. There are business models, and we talked about this several times throughout the interviews, that there are business models out there where you don't have to necessarily be available, and that depends on how you build your business. If your framework for your business is that you're offering compliance to a brokerage or to a agent, that doesn't necessarily need to happen during the daylight hours. That could be done after hours. So I believe Michelle Spalding questioned if that was really being a transaction coordinator, though.
100% agree. And by the way, so did Peter. Peter thought he knew what a transaction coordinator was while he was an agent, and then he became one.
Yep.
And then in the video, he admitted that then he and I talked, and he told me everything that he does as a TC. I said, you're not even a TC. You're basically a compliance manager.
Right.
You're processing compliance. You're not even doing contract to post close. And he's like, no, I'm a TC. I'm like, yeah, let's talk about that.
Right.
And so he changed his business model. He learned more about the process and everything. And now what they provide is full transaction management. But that's not the way it started. And it doesn't have to start that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So if that's the way that you need to get started to build your business is to offer compliance, and that business model works for you, then okay. If the business model is that you will maybe talk with you've set expectations, right? This also came up quite a bit. You've set expectations with everybody. You are transparent with your agent about when you're available. And then you say, I'm available at these hours. This is the time that I will be responding to these people. Will this work for you? You know, that can also be done, but you can't just go in and say, in my opinion, you can't just go in and say, I'm going to be a transaction coordinator, but you can't get me until 7 p.m. at night. And you can, and I'll also be available on the weekends for you. Yeah. I don't think that's sustainable.
So if we talk about kind of that nights and weekends, let's just say they're working a full-time job, 40 hours a week, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. I mean, multiple people said there are things that you can do outside of typical business hours, and you've mentioned a couple of them. So I just wrote a bunch down. We mentioned compliance once, okay? You could do some marketing for agents. You could do compliance for agent. You could do database management. Some of you are freaks of nature as far as admin is concerned, and what your background is. You had no real estate background whatsoever. Maybe you do. I don't care. But the fact is where you have worked in the past, you're an ops manager, and you run their database management and all of their tools tools and everything else like that. The amount of agents that their systems and their tools are just garbage is high. It's high. And I know a lot of admin and TCs that one of their side services is they help with organizing and doing database management and that type of thing. What else can they do? How many agents, if they have a successful business, actually do customer appreciation events? Okay, so I know an actual very successful TC business that one of their side services, they have someone who works full time on their staff and does nothing but they organize customer appreciation events for all of their. Brilliant.
That is amazing.
That is brilliant. Why doesn't okay.
Yeah.
I won't even get into that, but here's the deal is what we used to do is we used to have about a half a dozen of these customer appreciation events fully designed. We used to call them events in a box. And basically that box, it's a theoretical box. That box would have task lists for everybody that they needed to contact for. If they're going to rent, you want to do an event where we rent out a movie theater, we have every contact that you need for that, everything that you would have set up, the photographer to come and do it. I mean, we'd have everything set up. You want to do a pie giveaway, event in a box. And basically these agents, we just make it available to them. What do you want? We want to do a customer appreciation event for Thanksgiving. Okay, well, we've got 6 different events that we could do. Here's probably the 2 that are most popular on Thanksgiving. Okay, we'll do that one. Great. What's our budget for that? Great. Now, we used to do that for our team of 64 agents all the time. Now, this TC company, that's what they're doing. They're literally, it's a full division of their TC company. It's freaking brilliant. Now, that same person, because they don't have enough events for customer appreciation events, they're also doing database management. They're all of this stuff can be done nights and weekends and stuff like that. So there are things that you could do to start your business. But here is a point that a number of people in our interview brought up. What does the transition look like?
Yep.
Okay. You please don't wait until you're ready to start your TC business side of things from the contract to post close to make that transition. Already think about that. So if you're going to do things that do produce some income on nights and weekends, good luck to you doing contract to post close during nights and weekends, because you got to know who your customer is and when they have a level of expectation for availability, which on contracts, they want you available to a certain extent. Most typically, when are the banks available? When are the title companies available? When are you available? They want all that to line up as much as possible. So that's tough. And if you're going to do these other things, you have to understand that really, then all of a sudden now your TC business, are you really working that now full time plus this nights and weekends? So here's the last thing I will say on that is just this. Everything still comes down to me is, and I know not everybody agrees with me on this, and that's okay. We all can think a little different. Give me a break over 40 hours a week. I don't buy it. Okay. Anybody wants to see me become brilliant, okay, scrappy, resourceful, creative, let's put a plan together of what we want to create and then tell me that that's going to take 60 or 70 hours a week. There's never a time you will see me more creative than how would we do that in 40 or less? Okay, because here's what I believe. Do I need to work 40 or less? No, but I do believe this with all of my heart. And this may not be you. And this is why I might not be your cup of tea. That's okay. Okay. It's this. I believe if you're going to work over 40 hours a week, generally speaking, something has to give. And it's almost always 2 things, at least in my experience with the people I've worked with and the people I've talked to. If you're going to work more than 40 hours a week, the 2 things that will usually be sacrificed first. Number 1, your mental health. And that's not an option for me. It's never going to be acceptable. And some people say, well, you know, to start a business, you got to be willing to put in those 60, 70 hours. All right, challenge me. Only give me 40 hours and only allow me to work 40 hours. I'll figure out some way. Get resourceful, get scrappy, get creative. Don't just buy into this garbage that you've got to work 60, 70 hours a week to start your own business. I don't buy it. I will never buy it, and you can't sell me on it. Number 2 is mental health. The second one, relationships. Mm-hmm. Real relationships take real time. And if you're going to work 40 hours a week, then you're going to put another 20 to 30 hours. So you're working 60 to 70 hours. That 30 hours, 20 hours extra is pulled from somewhere. It just is. And it's not usually just pulled from somewhere, it's pulled from someone. Spouses, kids, mom, dad, whatever it is. So I would just say, find the most resourceful, scrappy people, creative people you know, and do some masterminding around that. But please, 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 please don't let yourself go into a default that, well, if I really want it, I just have to be willing to put in the hours. Oh, bite me. I'm not into that. That's not a story I'm going to accept. We're all different, but that's
Yeah. No, and I totally respect that. And so I will share with you that when I started in this business, I say that I was working basically 80 hours a week, but I was working them at the same time. I was double timing. So I was doing both 40 hours at the same, it was insane.
Yep.
So I didn't ever really work, late nights and weekends, although I did have very small boundaries, like very, very minor boundaries. And what it definitely led me down personally, and I'm telling this to everybody who is considering it, is that it led me down to burnout. I almost completely lost my mind. If the pandemic hadn't hit when it did, I might have gotten sick doing what I was trying to do. And so that ended up saving my life, I think. And it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it. And the mind, and I talk about with anyone who will listen to me all the time about mindset and self-care, and this is, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole or on a tangent, but I do want to say is self-care is not what you think it is. It's not about going to get your hair done or your nails done or getting a massage. That's not just what self-care is. Self-care is having breakfast with your wife. Self-care is taking a 15-minute break and walking around the block. Self-care is saying no when you don't want to do something. Those are all things that are so important if you're really going to take care of yourself and manage your stress. And I could go on, but I will stop.
Well, and I appreciate all of that. So again, you guys are definitely in this series, you're getting a lot of different people's opinions, and you can see where different people feel very strongly about certain things. Okay. This is just one that I feel strongly about. Can you be working a full-time job? Now I'm going to bring up Amanda's interview because I think this is an interesting comment by her, and I really love it. She said, basically what you have is you have a story. What's your mission? What's your vision? What do you want to create? Why don't you tell that story? So who are you telling that to? You're telling it to, maybe you can't take customers right now because on nights and weekends, what you're really doing is more just kind of setting your business up. You're putting your websites together, doing your logos, putting your marketing together, all of that type of stuff. You could do some of that stuff just while you're watching TV or whatever it is. Okay, very casual, whatever. It doesn't have to happen in a week. You could do it over 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is. Okay. But what you're doing during that time is, she says, have you considered actual telling your story to other people? Ooh. And she goes, some people would want to support you in that story and that mission and that vision. So maybe it's your employer, first of all, that you're working a 9 to 5. Do you have a relationship with them that you could say, this is my vision, this is my mission, this is what I'd like to be able to create in 6 months or 12 months? Is there something that we could talk about where I'm doing a little bit for my website marketing and everything? When I'm ready to go, I can go from 40 hours down to 30 hours. And what would that possibly look like? Don't be afraid to tell your story. Okay. Now, some people go, I couldn't do that, I get fired tomorrow. Well, then maybe you need to move to a different opportunity. Who says you have, okay, maybe you still have to work a full-time job. Okay. Or a job, because you can't just go without an income before this thing takes off. But does it have to be the exact job that you're in today? Is there a potential that maybe you need to make a move while you're building this? and you find an employer that is, rather than working 40 hours, you found something that works with your life for 30 hours, and now you're building your business for 10 hours. Now you go part-time and you're working 20 hours. Who says that you have to work a full time until you fully replace and you get to leave that day? Why do you have to go from 40 to 0 at your job? I don't know. I'm not buying you have to. I'm really not buying you have to. And if you tell me there's probably not as many of those opportunities out there. Really?
Yeah.
You want to challenge me on that creatively? Let's go. Let's mastermind that. Okay. So I'm just telling you, I don't think it has to be all or nothing. I don't think it's a 40-hour and then you're working your other business all those hours until that replaces your income or blows your income out the door so that you can go from 40 to nothing. There are other ways to make a transition. And the last thing I'll say about that transition, what helps that transition? Oh my gosh, this was said maybe not in every video, but maybe it was. Frickin' put your savings together and put your reserves together. That was said over and over and over again. Okay. You want to talk about getting creative? That's not even creative. That's just common sense. Now, what did most people said? I heard people say put a minimum of 3 to 6 months in reserves. And I heard other people say up to 12 months of reserves. Mm-hmm. Now, some people go, do you know what it would take me to save 12 months of reserves? Why is it so important that you start your business tomorrow? Got to ask yourself that. Okay. So that's kind of some of my answers anyways on the whole 9 to 5 thing. I think you can get a little bit more creative than maybe you'd give yourself credit for, because I think the default thought process that I seem to be hearing is that you're just going to end up working a lot of hours. If they got to keep that full-time job and you do this full-time thing, I still don't even think that that's actually the real answer, because I don't know that you can do actually contract to post-close on just nights and weekends.
Yeah. And I think also it's important to understand your why. You need to understand your why if you're going to commit, because this is a commitment. This is a real career. This is a real industry. There are people who are remarkably successful at it.
Yep.
And it's because they're committed and they know what their why is and they know what their reason is. And if your reason is because you want to work from home, then I would challenge you and say that's probably not going to be good enough.
On all of these calls, it didn't even hit me until right this second that the very first broker I put my license with, he built a pretty nice little real estate company. Okay. Mm-hmm. We did a lot of homes. I totally forgot until right this second. He was a full-time Sun Country airline pilot. As a broker, he had an amazing admin staff that was super helpful, licensed, everything else like that. When we needed him, we could have access to him and everything else like that. But guess what? I don't think, because I think I was with him for 3.5 years. I don't think the 3.5 years that I was with him, he ever left Sun Country. I think he left Sun Country after I had gone. He was still making his full income and everything, and he wasn't working 40 hours at Sun Country and 40 hours in his business and doing 80 hours a week. I forgot I even had him as an example, and that was back in the late 90s. Okay. There's a lot of creative things that you can do to make this work.
Yeah.
The answer to all 3 of the questions, can you? I think everybody on all of our calls said yes. But here's some maybe some wisdom that you can take in. Caveat, I think was your word earlier, that there's a few caveats to those yeses.
Yeah.
So, Amity, anything else that you'd like to share?
I think we've covered it. I am so grateful to have been a part of this project, and it was wonderful to hear the perspectives of some amazing industry experts and see how much alignment there is, and that this is one of my takeaways from all of the interviews that we did. There are a lot more people out there that are supportive of the idea than the naysayers. There's a lot more people that will say, yes, you can. This is how I would suggest you do it, rather than saying, sit down, sir.
Yeah. And I love that you just brought that up, because even though they are sharing some hard news, they're not sharing that hard news to discourage you. They're doing it so you can go into what you're dreaming about or what you're planning to do, or however you want to look at that. You can go into it well informed and already have those things into consideration and put plans that those don't become hurdles for you, or just know that they are going to be hurdles. And how would you handle those hurdles now that you know that they're probably going to come anyways? And I love the heart of the people. None of these people got paid to do these interviews. They just gave what they had to give, and their experience is unbelievable, but their hearts will exceed their experience all day long for me. And I truly appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was amazing to be a part of.
Yeah.
It's amazing people.
All right, Amity, tons of love to you. Tons of love to all of those that I know that are blessed by being able to work with you, interact with you, be served by you, be on your team, and hear all the wisdom that you are doing through your coaching, your teaching, your podcast, everything else like that. So tons of love to you. Thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you so much, David. Absolutely.
Everyone, have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.